and say a few words after the proclamation presentation.
Well, good evening, everyone. It is 6 o'clock on Tuesday, December 16th, and I'm going to call this Lacey City Council regular meeting to order. All council are here present. If you're able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would also like to acknowledge that we, the City of Lacey, are on the ancestral land of the tribal people of the Treaty of Medicine Creek, including the Nisqually Indian Tribe and the Squax Indian Tribe. Can I get a motion to approve this evening's agenda and consent agenda items?
Move to approve the agenda and consent agenda as published.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Then that motion unanimously carries. So next up on our approved agenda is public recognitions. We have the North Thurston High School volleyball team state champions here. Is Jackie can come up and Angela Brooks come up. And
We can bring up all the girls.
yeah, bring up all the girls.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having us here this evening. I'm joined by a bunch of my coaches. So this is Liz Lewis over here to my right, Mike Connor, and Rachel Smith. We are glad to be here representing North Thurston High School in our first state championship in the 70 years of our school's history. For females. And the first one in 23 years, so it's been a while since we brought a state trophy home. We've had a lot of success this season with a 26-1 record, with a lot of our athletes being recognized as all players for the state and for the region. We also, in the last 4 years, have had a 91-11 record, having 4 straight state appearances with a 4th place, 2nd place, and now a 1st place trophy. So we're super proud of the success of our program. And at this time, I will recognize our athletes that put in all the work. Number 1, Jada Cruz. Number 2, Anna Sheeran. Number 3, Abby Losey. Number 4, Genesis No. Number 5, Chloe Spalding. Number 6, Samantha Humphrey. Number 7, Tiana Orfer. Number 8, Addison Connor. Number 9, Kelsey Teo. Number 10, Ava Elmonte. Number 11, Madison Abrahamson. Number 12, Kaylani Adams. Number 13, Maya Burton. And number 15, Audrey Crocker. Thank you for having us this evening.
So can we get them come up front? We're going to take a picture with the full council.
From a volleyball dad, I know how awesome and competitive the sport is, so congratulations.
So we won't make you way around. You guys can go. We just want to say thank you so much and congratulations. You guys had an amazing season. I'm pretty biased. I graduated from North Thurston High School. I have my 3 generations of my family graduated from North Thurston High School, and you're right, we haven't had a state champion in a long time. So I'm really proud of you girls. Congratulations and have a wonderful, happy holidays. So next up on our agenda is our 2026 federal legislative priorities.
Well, good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and council members. We are joined here by Joel Rubin and David Hodges from CFM Advocates, and we're going to be going over our draft 2026 federal legislative agenda, as well as getting some background on just, kind of what to expect in the environment of the federal government here moving forward. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to David, and David's going to go through a brief presentation.
Thanks, Shannon. Appreciate that. David Hodges with CFM Advocates here with my colleague Joel Rubin. I know you have a packed agenda tonight, so I'm going to try to move through this fairly quickly. I'll warn you, we are lobbyists, so we do like to talk. So if you need to rush me along, feel free to do so. Oh, there it goes. Went too far, Shannon. Obviously here we want to talk about some of your recent successes, go over your draft federal agenda that we've been working with staff on, and then give you a bit of a review of this year so far and what next year looks like. And then if time allows, we'll give you a little bit of a midterm election preview. We always like to start out talking about our recent successes, and unfortunately you'll see the very first item up there is crossed out, and I'll explain that a little bit. So in FY25, we were able to secure about $1 million for an emergency generator for the new police station. Unfortunately, after the 2024 election, Congress was unable to reach an agreement on FY25 appropriations. They ended up moving to a continuing resolution, which made all of those congressionally directed spending or earmarks go away, and that was unfortunately a casualty of that process. That being said, you can see that we have been able to secure a lot of wins for you guys over the last few years. The Vets Hub, the Makerspace expansion, close to $2 million for that. The Safe Streets for All planning grant, that was $68,000 for the city to plan safety improvements on the streets. And then on the legislative front, I want to mention the bipartisan infrastructure law, which is the largest investment our country has made in infrastructure since the interstate highway system in the 1950s. That program or that bill created a lot of the programs we've been able to take advantage of or allow you to pursue funding for. So the Safe Streets for All planning grant, for example, that was created by the bipartisan infrastructure law. The nice thing about that too, once you have that plan completed, which I think it's nearly completed, you'll be able to pursue funding under this program as well. So that was something that did not exist prior to the bipartisan infrastructure law. And then it also augmented a lot of funding as well in current programs. So the Raise/Build program, for example, received a large appropriation plus up because of that legislation. Down on legislation, I also want to mention protecting municipal bonds. This was something at the beginning of the year when the new congressional majorities came in. They were eyeing potentially eliminating the tax exempt status of municipal bonds to help pay for the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which my colleague will talk about here in a little bit. That was until National League of Cities and basically all the cities across the country mobilized to, frankly, stop that, because that would have been obviously very detrimental to a lot of communities across the country. I'm going to mention the state and local tax deduction. This was something that was eliminated or was capped in the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. $10,000 was the cap. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act raised that cap to $40,000, at least temporarily, until 2030. That's a big deal for high tax states like Washington that are able to now, at least until 2030, individuals will be able to take a higher deduction on that. Now, moving to your federal agenda, a lot of these are going to look familiar. I'll just point out some of the ones that we've added this year. So the senior center expansion, we've been talking to staff about pursuing congressional funding to build a new parking lot there, which will set the stage for them to be able to actually expand the facility. Joel and I actually just toured it this afternoon. We think it's a really good project. We're excited to advocate for it and start building towards being able to expand that. Hunterman Park civic implementation. This was something that we had requested last year. It's returning again this year. And then same with College Street safety improvements. We've applied for the build program several times on that. Gotten pretty positive feedback from USDOT. And again, with at least it having more funding for another year, that program, because of the bipartisan infrastructure law, feeling somewhat optimistic we'll be able to make that happen this time around. Policy priorities, again, a lot of these are going to look familiar. I do want to, the SPEED Act is highlighted on there, or excuse me, bolded. This is a NEPA reform bill that has bipartisan support and is intended to really try to speed up the federal permitting process. Again, you don't see a lot of bills around sort of permitting reform with bipartisan support, but this one does. We suspect that that's going to be something that is likely to move next year, and then hopefully that'll, again, speed up projects, and we're not, spending so much time in the permitting process. The rest of these, I think, will look familiar to you all. BABA flexibility, so that's Build America, Buy America. I know the city has had some challenges related to sourcing, equipment from that is American built and whatnot because of global supply chains. So we've continued to ask for that. DSIP, this is the Defense Community Infrastructure Program. We've eyed this program potentially for an early learning center in Lacey, but it also just helps defense or military communities generally. And it's something that we've kept on the federal agenda and continue to advocate for. Again, the rest of these should be familiar. Mr. Rubin will talk about the surface transportation reauthorization here. But that was the bipartisan infrastructure law, was a surface transportation reauthorization bill, which is up again next year. So we're going to be advocating to maintain the funding levels that were created under the bipartisan infrastructure law. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Rubin.
Thank you, David. So I get the pleasure to talk about how things are going in Washington, D.C. They're going swimmingly. Things are going great back there. So I'm going to do a quick review of 2025 and look forward to 2026 a little bit. So Congress typically passes a lot of bills every year. This in 2025 is a little unusual. The Congress really basically passed one major bill. And that was the one big beautiful bill, as the president calls it. That was the significant legislative package that passed in the summer of 25. And it had some controversy to it as a bill that passed with only majority or Republican support. They used a reconciliation process, which you can do once a year, which allows them to not require 60 votes in the Senate, so you didn't need any Democrats to support it. So what I think the president would tout about it is extending some tax cuts, adding no tax on tips, no tax on seniors, and no tax on overtime. Those are provisions that do expire, by the way, so those last about 3 years, and some of the other tax cuts are permanent for corporations and individuals. In terms of the cuts and some of the more controversial provisions, Medicaid was cut by 1.1 to 1.2 trillion dollars, which is going to have some negative impacts to up to 12 million people that had Medicaid coverage. So that's going to be a significant problem for those folks. And that was used to basically pay for part of the tax cut bill that passed. One of the other negative implications for the bill is it increased the national debt by $3.5 trillion over a 10-year period. And so that's for our children and grandchildren to consider. We've also faced a government shutdown, the longest one in history, lasted 43 days. Democrats elevated the health care issue during the shutdown, but they did not get their policy win. But I do think that they have a policy issue to run on in the midterm elections if this doesn't get fixed by the end of the year, as the Obamacare premium subsidies expire on December 31st. And it doesn't look like there's going to be a fix for that. So Democrats and some Republicans are trying to continue to extend those subsidies, but I think that's unlikely at this point in time. What they did to reopen the government was pass a continuing resolution through January 30th that funded 3 of the 12 appropriations bills, but only extended the rest of funding for the rest of the 9 appropriations bills through January 30th. That's what they're going to be working on now through the end of January to try to pass and finish those, the rest of those 9 appropriations bills. So they have a lot of work to do in a short period of time, and the government shutdown just condenses the legislative calendar quite a bit. So we'll see if they get their work done in Washington, D.C. It's a very dynamic place these days. Looking towards 2026, we're going to turn attention shortly after they pass the FY26 approach to the 27 cycle, and that's where we'll be seeking a lot of your congressionally directed spending projects and looking to include those in the 12 appropriations bills for next year. There might be another reconciliation bill that Republicans try to pass in 26 to address potentially health care, maybe the deficit. That's not entirely clear on what their plan is to use this special provision that doesn't require Democratic votes, but they do have that option available to them. And then the big bill that David mentioned in terms of transportation, every 5 years there's a big transportation reauthorization bill, and that expires, the current bill expires on September 30th. So we're looking to extend and expand some of those infrastructure programs that were included in the infrastructure law that you all benefit from and can benefit from for the next 5 years. So we'll be working with your delegation and the Congress and the administration to try to make sure that there is a robust infrastructure package. I would say that Trump always likes to one-up the Biden administration, and if he's interested in building and doing stuff better than Biden, this is the main bill that you're going to hear about in 2026 in terms of infrastructure package. And if he puts his full weight behind a bill, it's possible we could have a bipartisan compromise that has significant investments for infrastructure. But if he doesn't, and also we have a midterm election coming up, it's going to get very political very fast, not like it never isn't political. But it's unlikely that if there is an agreement by the spring or early summer of 26, that they'll be able to get a transportation bill passed. So they'll have to do a simple extension in September. And then I love giving projections because you can tell what's going to happen in 2026. We're way far away from the midterm elections in 26, but just the prognostications, this is hopefully a non-biased view of what's happening in Washington, D.C. Democrats are feeling very good at this point in time. The most recent election in Miami, the first Democratic mayor to win in 30 years. The elections in November for the California Prop 50, the Virginia's governor's race, the New Jersey's governor's race, and a host of other special elections that have happened at the end of 2025 are giving tailwinds to the Democratic Party. And there's a lot of Republicans in D.C. that are concerned about what this means for the midterm elections in 26. There's already a number of Republican retirements that have been announced, and I would anticipate after the Christmas holiday or the holiday season that you're going to see a number of Republicans saying that they don't want to be in Washington, D.C. anymore for various reasons. One is Congress isn't doing as much as they used to, but two, they don't want to be in the minority. And that's probably what would happen in the House if I were to bet today. The Senate is a different story. It's a really tough congressional map for Democrats, and it's good for Republicans. It's really, so it's a 53-47 breakdown with the Republicans having 53 seats in the majority. It's a really difficult map to see how Democrats would pick up. They need 4 seats in the midterm elections, and it's just, you're just operating in some very Republican or red states, and it's going to be challenging for Democrats to pick up Senate seats in Ohio or Texas or Florida. But if there is a significant blue wave, Democrats have some hope, more hope than they did 3 months ago before the November elections, that there could be a pickup of Democratic control of both the House and the Senate. But I think most Republicans feel pretty good about their chances of maintaining the Senate, but are very worried about the House. So the reason to brief you on that is just to give you a sense of how your priorities stack up, what you all are going to be asking for in Washington, D.C., and this the makeup of the midterm elections, how people are already starting to maneuver, really impacts the strategy and the positioning of your projects, working with the Congress and working with the administration to make sure that you all are successful in D.C. So with that, I'll turn it over back to you all if there's any questions on your agenda or what's happening in DC. Happy to answer those.
No, just thank you, and I know that we're going to be working on time to come out, and we're trying to decide if it's going to coincide with NLC or a different time, but we'll be in touch, and as always, thank you for your time and your advocacy over the years.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks to you and council and staff for all the hard work they've done on the federal agenda.
Gentlemen, you said you visited the senior center, right?
Yes.
I think you should walk down College Street.
Yes,
During
we've
rush
done that.
hour, and you get a new perspective
Yes.
for 13 million. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yes,
Okay.
you'll fight hard for
Yeah.
absolutely.
Thank you. Real appreciate it.
Yep, thank you.
So, Mr. Mayor, if I could
Yep.
just really quickly,
Yep.
so we will be bringing back the agenda for final approval at the first meeting of the council on January 6th.
Sounds good. Thank you. So next up was we have a night market update. Yeah, Wesley, he's coming up.
Jason. Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Council. Wesley Nguyen, staff. I'm very excited to give you an update and a recap of the 2025 Friday night market. If I have to sum up the night market in 2025 in 2 words, it would be growth and learning. 2025 marked our second year partnering with Sway. I'm happy to report that we're already extending that contract for the end of 2026. Sway team has consistently delivered a vibrant, inclusive, and very organized market experience that truly resonate with our community. They've gone above and beyond, not just creating a fun atmosphere, but in support of local entrepreneurship. From vendor onboarding to booth preparation, Sway ensure that each vendor is set for success. I really appreciate that. Their team typically arrive at the depot on Thursday and mark all their locations for the booth and prepare everything for a smooth run of Friday night market. And then they do a good job of promotion using social media as a platform to build excitement and drive attendance to the market every Friday night. And to dive deeper into the market series and the data and the impact it has in the community and the future plan, I'd like to hand over to Jason, the owner of Sway Night Market, to share.
Hello, hello. Oh, there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, good to see you all. I hope everyone's doing well. And thank you for having me here to showcase a little bit about the night market, the progress we made this year. I'm excited to announce and kind of showcase that the improvements we've made and the progress we've made this year. And I think not just the city of Lacey, but the entire community will be pleased to see the progress we've made. Am I just pressing this? All right, so for 2025, the Lacey Night Market remains a free, inclusive event that's brought together for the residents, visitors, and all local businesses here in Thurston County. And each market, we added theme nights, we added food, entertainment vendors, and most importantly, the community partners that come out, and including the city of Lacey. And this year, we really focus on driving the foot traffic and doubling down on the food vendors and the social media progress that we've made. And through just consistency and taking away what we've learned in year one and applying to year two, along with a lot of the positive community feedbacks, the night market has built a lot of trust, and it's become a platform and a safe space for the community to gather, to feel inclusive and a fun, welcoming environment for the entire community and beyond. So the Lacey Night Market is executed by Sway, and we are under contract with the city of Lacey. And the shared goal is to create this fun atmosphere for not just for local businesses, but the entire community, the residents. as the event continues to grow, we're always continuing to look at the progress we made, fulfilling the expectations, not just outlining the contracts, but beyond that, and delivering high quality events here in the city of Lacey, and very importantly, presenting the city of Lacey as a welcoming destination for not just the local residents, but to drive tourism and to highlight the beauty and the special community here. We definitely appreciate the communications, the collaborations, and the partnership with the city of Lacey, and we have some exciting to do for, as Wesley mentioned, we've went on and we're about to execute the second year of the contract, and there'll be more fun things to come. So here's some pictures of the quick events. This year, we also highlighted collaborate with the city to have the first ever Pride Night here in the city of Lacey. And it was a great way for the entire community to come together and in a welcoming environment that includes everyone. And it was that event, along with many others, was a great example of how the city of Lacey demonstrated inclusiveness and that this city welcomes everyone, not just specific groups. And some good-looking city of Lacey folks in this picture as well. So our total number is that we had 17 numbers of events, and total number of event hours is 82. And within those events and the hours, this year we included about 30 more vendors at all of our events. On average, each event had about 57 local vendors here at the Lacey Depot, which is borderline maxed out for the capacity of the Lacey Depot. We're excited to showcase that total sales from last year to this year has a tremendous jump. After each event, vendors are required to report their total sales, and that allows us to have a deeper understanding that how is this event benefiting the city of Lacey, and what is it generating for the community. So we're looking at just over $500,000 of total sales collected with all the vendors, and on average, each night market generates just under $50,000 per event. The total visitors from last year to this year we've seen a significant change as well. We added more events, we added more theme nights, we included more performers, and just through aggressive social media promotion marketing, we were able to bring out a lot more people and also bring out more visitors that come from outside of Thurston County. So here's another slide of just a lot of the vibrant energy and the welcoming atmosphere of all of our events. The age demographics of attendees remain fairly similar to last year, and I know our marketing campaign has really focused on targeting the age between 25 to 55, and nothing has really changed with the attendees, with the audience, with the age group. Same with the breakdown of all the residents. So we noticed a slight increase on the attendees that are traveling from outside of Thurston County, and the slight increase on the attendees that went to multiple events. But these numbers, I believe, is at a healthy rate, and we'll continue to look forward to driving more attendees from outside of Thurston County, and just continue to promote the local businesses that are here. As I mentioned, our social media campaign has been our strongest area within the brand. Through 3 active platforms of TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, we gather a total of 5.72 million content views and total of 1.15 content reach, with website visits of 26,000 and all of that has City of Lacey, Lacey Night Market written all over it. I believe at the core of it, it's our marketing campaign that really drives the outside visitors to come down to not just Thurston County, but to visit the night market and benefits, and that benefit itself will benefit the entire ecosystem of businesses, that especially the surrounding businesses at the night market. A quick sales impact estimate of the jurisdiction is as I mentioned, these are the total numbers that are the total sales number collected reported at each event, and it's broken down into each jurisdictions. These numbers doesn't include the local surrounding businesses. It doesn't include the lodging, utilities, the B&O, and any other business tax. So we're happy to see the trajectory of the night market being just wrapped up year 2, having a very strong number to announce and to showcase to the city. So this year we included some. When I was here last year, I mentioned that we wanted to focus on food. We wanted to bring more food vendors, more unique food, and we want to encourage the communities to try new things. This year we added the Perkins Family Farm, which they come out they harvest their oysters in the mornings and then they bring it out to the night market. It's as fresh as you can get. They've been able to have a lot of success at the night market, and also we highlighted some huli huli chicken with the Lacey Polyfest, and also it's important to have these platforms for them, especially for the micro businesses, because one prime example is the Punto Callao. I think that's how you say it. For micro businesses to have an opportunity with a very low cost, to have an opportunity to showcase a very specific food, and that itself brought out a lot of the Peruvian community, and I'm proud to say this is the only time you can get Peruvian food in Thurston County. So it was a really cool opportunity to present that to the community, and in a very welcoming fashion. It was very loved. Also, the purple corn juice is one of the craziest things, but so delicious. Mm-hmm. This year, we've certainly increased the number of hours we've worked on this. We've increased staff. We've increased the number of marketing campaigns that we looked at. Hundreds of emails in between the community members, potential vendors, and a big part of it is us encouraging anybody especially the aspiring entrepreneurs, that if you have something unique, we'd love to see it. And a platform like this gives the opportunity to the folks without committing to a long-term lease or something like a storefront that might not be as feasible. And here we go. Okay, so at the end of every year and just throughout the year, we would collect vendor feedbacks, and the feedbacks from visitors and community members is key. It's what allows us to really see the changes. We want to, whether it's good or bad, we want to make sure that we highlight those, we acknowledge those, and take that to continue to make improvements. Some of the things that has been really awesome is folks mentioning having a platform for micro businesses to showcase their products. People love the theme nights, such as Pride Nights, the Polynesian Night. My favorite event of all was the Polynesian Night. We brought out just a ridiculous amount of folks. A lot of complaints about parking, but it was a great problem. Through our geofencing data, there was just over 10,000 people at the Lacey Depot that day. So that tells, all of those data tells us that we're on the right track, and people really love Polynesian Night. With the good, there's always the bad, and I think in order for us to have a successful and a sustainable market events moving forward, we have to be able to understand and take the constructive criticism. By no means, our operations is not perfect, and we're always striving to improve. many of the negative feedbacks are the constructive feedbacks are the terrain, and I think to be frank, I don't think anyone expected the Lacey Depot to have this many people go through in 1 year. So that really took a toll on, I believe, on the terrain itself. I believe it created some challenges thank you, parking. So there were some challenges there that we will continue to look to address and see how we can maneuver. And one of the things that we're looking into is partner with more local businesses that might have the parking capacities available for us to partner up and collaborate. And one of the main thing is the accessibility. We've received a lot of constructive feedbacks about wheelchair accessibility. I know that was a big challenge that we continue to get throughout every event. I know it's going to require a lot more effort to change that, but we work with what we got, and our team is dedicated to do what we can to make sure we can fix that as much as we can on our end. And a lot of it is parking. Yeah. We also collect vendor testimonials for after every event and also towards the end of the season. And you'll see a lot of the similar things. It's micro businesses having the platform. You'll see that community members feel welcomed. I think that's one of the most important part is creating this welcoming atmosphere for the entire community. And you'll see that we're starting to see more people come down from outside of Thurston County. And our events, we have dedicated to keep the vendor fees as low as possible. And a big part of that is through the City of Lacey's help. And so we've been able to create this really special platform that has helped a lot of the vendors and local businesses thrive. Our goal for 2026 is to, as I mentioned, we're entering the second and the final years of the contract. And one thing that has really been beneficial is to be able to begin the renewal process as early as possible. Last year, the past couple of years, we weren't able to do that just because the legalities and the process of it. But having the extra time this year, we started planning for and executing for the 2026 season back in October. So that gave us a lot more time to pursue not just higher quality vendors, but also the bigger names. I know the community loved having the Dick's Drive-In come down. The lines is always crazy. And we want to be able to feature more of that and then just bring the food trucks and building the trust with a lot of the bigger brands, food trucks and vendors that are in King County, Pierce County that just hasn't been willing to bring their trucks or businesses down Thurston County. So we're seeing some of that change, and having the begin the renewal process early will definitely help with that. We definitely want to strengthen the community partnerships, sponsorships within the local area. That has been a big help for the events, and of course we want to showcase more local talents. Especially the micro businesses, this is a platform for everyone, and collaborate with the city to see how we can enhance the infrastructures, the service, and how we can just make it more inclusive for the entire community. So, like I said, we're entering the final years of our contract, and we're truly grateful. Our entire team is really grateful the entire staff are all from Lacey. We all live in Lacey, and we're just grateful to have the opportunity to partner with the city of Lacey and just bring something really fresh, unique. We've added a lot of different components to the night market this year that hasn't been done or just hasn't been seen, and we want it to be different. We want it to be fresh. We want it to keep up with the trends and to bring something lively and vibrant to the city. So looking ahead, we're looking to create something. We want this to be sustainable. We want this to be long term. I think it's been very well perceived by the community. Thank you. And it doesn't happen with just us. It takes a whole village to really create a sustainable community events, and we're grateful. We're committed to continue building this momentum for the city, and I appreciate all of you for trusting us and to execute this community project that's really become something really special. I'm happy to answer any questions, and thank you all for the time.
Thank you. Keep up the great work. I happen to live right over there, and every night that you were there, it was packed. And I understand that the success has been great, but the parking and keeping up with the infrastructure is something that we'll need to continue to work on, and we'll do that. We'll continue to try to make it the best possible night market and continue to expand. So thank you for all you're doing.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mayor Ryder, you have like good 10 spots over there people could use, right?
I could maybe figure something out. Yeah.
So when we first started talking about this and using this space and seeing you guys at LTAC in the different places, there was a little bit of uncertainty. It's like, is this going to kind of really, blossom and take off? And it looks like with all the work that you guys have done and how many the vendors that you're bringing and the attractions that you're bringing, the community really seems to love it. And here you are nearly tripling your numbers over a 12-month period. So congratulations,
Yes, sir. Thank
number
you.
one. And I hope you guys continue forward with this because and if there is some way we can help improve the infrastructure and solve some of these issues that we read in there, we really need to talk about that and have those conversations, get those conversations started. But I'm really loving what you guys are doing.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you. Have happy holidays. We have a long agenda tonight, so we're going to try to keep moving. Next up, we have a presentation for the retirement of our police commander, Joe Upton. And we actually have an official City of Lacey Department commendation. And we'll start with Councilmember Dunning.
City of Lacey Police Department commendation. Whereas Commander Joe Upton joined the Lacey Police Department in March 1992, where he began his service to the Lacey community in the capacity of police officer after completing the Basic Law Enforcement Academy. And
whereas Commander Joe Upton was assigned to the detective unit where he investigated over 1,550 felony cases. During this time, he developed and provided fraud and forgery training for local banks and credit unions. And
whereas Commander Joe Upton was promoted to the rank of sergeant in January 2003 and successfully implemented the city's first business academy, which included creating, planning, advertising, and hosting the academy. And
whereas Commander Joe Upton was assigned as the department's first administrative sergeant, where he oversaw the renovation of the evidence room, helped move it into new evidence room facility, developed new policies and procedures for handling and packaging evidence, and created many procedures that are still used today. And
whereas Commander Joe Upton was promoted to the rank of commander in November 2006, where he established a new Lacey Police Department policy manual and has been instrumental in keeping the Lacey Police Department accredited since '96 through his participation in Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs. He has been the vice chair of WASPIC Accreditation Committee since 2018, and
whereas Commander Joe Upton has faithfully served the Lacey community for over 33 years and has dedicated to building community relationships while ensuring full transparency in the delivery of law enforcement services. He worked unselfishly, completing all his job assignments with enthusiasm and honor.
Now, therefore, I, Andy Ryder, Mayor of the City of Lacey, on behalf of the Lacey City Council, do hereby take great pleasure in commending Commander Joe Upton for his dedication and service to the Lacey community and extend the very best wishes throughout his retirement. The chiefs can come up and say a few words. And
oh, you can't stay behind the curtain. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So it is bittersweet losing my last commander as we change to a lieutenant model. And Commander Upton, holy smokes. So the Lacey Police Department's been around for about 58 years. And as you heard, Commander Upton's been here for 33. So over half of our institutional knowledge is walking out the door today. So as a police chief, you go, uh-oh, now what? I can't tell you how many times during the week I yell down the hallway, hey, Joe, let me ask you a question. Or, hey, Joe, I got a project for you. Can you look into something for me? And he takes it in stride. He's the most organized, detailed guy I've ever met. Does an outstanding job. Actually does a lot of outstanding jobs. He's got a lot of hats. So as you heard from council during the commendation, he really founded accreditation and kept it going here at the city of Lacey for the Lacey Police Department. Began that process in 1995, officially happened in 96, and we've been accredited by WASPIC ever since. We've maintained that accreditation, really due to the efforts of Commander Upton. And he's become part of the accreditation committee. In fact, he's the go-to person in the state as far as evidence room, accountability, and standards. He has mentored how many agencies?
A lot.
A lot, right? Through the accreditation process and through the LEMAP process, which is law enforcement executives helping other departments. On top of that, when I-940 was passed, he helped to implement and create the Capital Metro Independent Investigative Team, which investigates deadly uses of force by law enforcement throughout the entire Capital Metro area. So he started that team and got it going along with collaboration of other departments. He has pretty much been overseer and coordinator and division commander of our Detective Investigations Division for quite a while now. He's the reason why our detective unit has such a high clearance rate, especially for homicides. We're one of the few agencies in the state of Washington that has a incredible clearance rate when it comes to homicides. I believe we only have one unsolved homicide at this time, going back to our beginning. And yeah, it's pretty amazing. So, and we actually have a pretty good idea what happened there, but I can't get into that. Okay. So, on top of that, in that detective unit, he's also charged the school resource officer program, the community resource unit program that does community engagement and outreach. The mobile outreach team, he helped us get that started, which was out of the community navigator program. We're in our partnership with Local Health Recovery Services, which has embedded co-responders at the department. He helped kick that off and kept it going. He enlarged the team. He added a designated crisis responder to it. So it keeps growing and developing due to Joe's efforts. On top of that, we just initiated a 3-city proactive unit called CERT. Again, Joe got that project to get that kicked off and get our interlocal agreements in place for that. He is the king of research projects, like I said. He also oversees recruiting, hiring, training, and professional standards. So, because we have lost Joe, and also Commander Mack, who's here with us, thanks. Good to see you, Mack. I now have 4 lieutenants instead of 2 commanders because it took that much to divvy out the work. That's how much work they were doing. So really appreciate everything that Joe's done. I am losing my right arm by losing Joe. He is a tremendous asset to this community. And he's kind of one of the unsung heroes. I mean, you don't see him on social media. You don't see him at a lot of meet and greets. He kind of stays in the background and just kind of makes things happen. So I'm glad to get him out in the public eye today and to get his due. So congratulations.
So I just want to say a few words. We've had a couple of these the past couple of years where we've had people who've been with the city of Lacey for such a long time that, through their service, they've actually helped create the identity of our community. And without a doubt, Joe is one of those people whose impact, not only to the city of Lacey, but as you just heard, really to the entire state of Washington, has been done sort of the Lacey way, behind the scenes, hard work, professionalism, and yet has such a tremendous impact that when they're gone, it's going to be, felt for a very long time. It's going to be impossible to replace. And, Joe's such a kind of quiet, behind-the-scenes guy, but we all have felt his impact for such a long time, and we know how important he's been to this community and to the state. And I just want to thank you for all you've done for the city of Lacey, and I wish you the best in retirement. We're going to get a picture of the council. You want to say anything? Sure.
So thank you, everyone, for the very kind words. I appreciate it. It's been a great career. I had a lot of fun. Had a lot of help, especially with my family. My wife, Diane's in the back videotaping this. Couldn't have done it without her. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate this community and the city. We're really one of the few cities in the state that has never, in the 33 years I've been here, we have never pink slipped anybody. We've never laid anybody off. And that says a lot about the city and the financial stewardship that it has. And it's a great place to work, and I've been very proud to have worked here. Thank you.
So we're going to go right into our next agenda item, and tonight we want to recognize the incredible service clubs and organizations whose generosity and volunteerism help make Lacey such a strong and connected community. These groups give their time, talents, and resources not only not for the recognition, but because they care so deeply about this place that we call home. And so we have an official proclamation.
City of Lacey, official proclamation. Whereas community service is fundamental to the strength and well-being of communities, as it fosters civic responsibility, promotes social connection, addresses local needs, and empowers individuals to take active role in creating positive change for the benefit of all. And
whereas service clubs in the United States emerged in the early 20th century as voluntary, community-oriented organizations dedicated to fellowship, professional networking, and public service, and continue to serve in these capacities today.
Whereas local chapters of the Rotary International, Kiwanis International, Lions Clubs International, and many other service groups dedicate countless hours to improving the quality of life for community members of all ages, and
whereas all local service clubs provide essential support to youth development, community building activities, charitable initiatives, leading community improvement projects, and mobilizing volunteers during times of crisis, including natural disasters and public health emergencies, and
whereas the projects undertaken by our local service clubs play a vital role in contributing to community beautification, environmental stewardship, strengthening community events, and enriching cultural experiences that benefit the entire Lacey community. And
whereas the City of Lacey celebrates and honors the many contributions from service clubs throughout the years, including sponsoring new playground structures, facilitating the Flags Over Lacey programs, supporting and volunteering at community events, sponsoring a trail map project and park kiosks, maintaining the Civic Plaza and Gold Star Memorial, and so much more.
Now, therefore, I, Andy Ryder, Mayor of the City of Lacey, on behalf of Lacey City Council, do hereby pay tribute to service clubs, organizations in the city of Lacey and beyond in recognition and appreciation of the essential work and contributions of service clubs, and encourage community members to support, join, and engage with these organizations to enhance the well-being of our community. And I want to just highlight a few ways these groups support Lacey in our community. And I'll call up representatives from each of the group here tonight afterwards to pick up your proclamation. So Lacey Rotary, been a Lacey Rotarian, so I'm a little biased here, but Lacey Rotary has a long history of investing in our community spaces. In 2019, the club provided $50,000 towards the Lacey Depot playground, and it really was the start of making the depot a great place. More recently, they partnered with the Hawks Prairie Rotary to contribute $2,500 towards the trail map project, and with volunteers walking trails to collect GPS data. And then the Gateway Rotary has made a tremendous investment in our community by pledging $110,000 towards replacing the playground equipment at William A. Bush Park. And in addition to this financial commitment, club members volunteered approximately 12 hours supporting community outreach events to help select the new playground design. And with the Hawks Prairie Rotary, they continue to support our parks and trails through both funding and hands-on services. In partnership with the Lacey Rotary, the club contributed $2,500 towards our trail map project, along with walking the trails to collect the data. And they also sponsored $3,000 towards a new kiosk at the Great Cuyo Park. With the Lacey Sunrise Lions, they're a friendly and welcome presence at many of our community events. Each year they provide approximately 30 volunteer hours for face painting and temporary tattoos at the 3rd of July Spectacular, along with about 36 volunteer hours assisted with a Breakfast with Santa event. And throughout their Flags Over Lacey program, which is something everyone loves here in Lacey. It's been going for a long time. It's really, we always get compliments about it. They also proudly hang all of our American flags throughout our city each spring and fall. And then with the Sergeants Major Association Northwest, it's a valued partner of the City of Lacey and the Lacey Veterans Services Hub. The association serves and maintains the Lacey Gold Star Family Memorial at Civic Plaza and remains actively involved in supporting the JBLM community and those who continue to serve. And last, we have the Fred U. Harris Lodge, number 70, has a long-standing tradition of civic engagement in Lacey. For 44 years, Lodge has hosted the Juneteenth celebration, providing free barbecue to all attendees. And from 2022 through 2024, the city partnered with Lodge to support this community celebration. So I would like to invite up Andre from Fred U. Harris, Frank from the Sergeants Majors Association, Isabella and Kathy from the Lacey Sunrise, Bob Kagi and Marnie from the Hawks Prairie Rotary, Spencer, if you can come up from the Gateway Rotary, and Nicole Woosley from the Lacey Rotary. And we have we're going to have you come up front. We're going to do a picture with you guys too. It's a picture day. It's like school picture all this. I know it is.
Frank, good to see you again. Thank you again for all that work. Oops, sorry. That's what you get.
Bob, thanks for the campaign signs. You did a really good job on that. I'll take a Give him my best. Good.
Coming out, sir. Thanks for coming out. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Now we're to the point of public comment. We have one person who signed up, pre-registered to speak via Zoom, Sarah Bland. Can we bring Sarah on first? She's no longer on? Oh, sorry about that. She was on earlier. And then we have one person who signed up. Shauna, you want to come up and reintroduce yourself? It's good to see you.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Shauna Stewart, and I'm here to introduce myself as the interim CEO of the Visitor and Convention Bureau. Moving forward, I will be updating you regularly on what's happening at Experience in Olympia and beyond, talking about how we're marketing the city of Lacey, Thurston County as a destination. But in the meantime, I'd like to highlight some of our recent work in partnership with the city of Lacey. As a regional organization, we're committed to promoting the whole Thurston County region, but here are some specific highlights for Lacey. So one is we use some Lacey-centric images on some digital advertising that generated a really strong return of $239 in visitor spending for every $1 invested. We also created and distributed the Lacey Community Guide, which is available in print and online. We hosted we expanded Lacey's high-quality visual assets through professional photography. Specifically, we captured images of Lacey Spring Fun Fair, Thurston County Fair, Lacey Fireworks Spectacular, and more. And what's really nice about these images is that these are actually available for local businesses in the city and organizations to use. So everyone can be using these images in their marketing to help spread the word. And then through our work as a sports commission, we sponsored and supported the U.S. Touch Rugby Nationals, GNAC Basketball, USSS 17 S's, 3 S's, and 10U baseball tournament. And those are just some of the brief highlights, but I just want to say thank you sincerely for your ongoing partnership and your continued support of our organization. We are really proud to elevate Lacey and Thurston County visibility and strengthen our visitor economy together.
Thanks. Welcome back. Yeah. Is there anyone else wishing to address the City Council this evening? Yeah. Good job. You beat your time there. Anyone else? Okay, then let's go on to our next item, which is Resolution 1178, which is our 2025 Hazardous Waste Management Plan adoption. Maybe someone from the Thurston County Online, Public Health. Okay. We're bringing them in right now.
All right. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
A little bit of a wait. All right. Thank you. Yes. My name is Kimberly Graham. I'm with the Environmental Health Division with Thurston County Public Health Department. And so thank you, Council, for taking the time to review the plan and to let me speak about it a little bit. So I'll start off with a little bit of background and the purpose of the plan. So local governments have an obligation to plan for waste management activities. And in the case of hazardous waste, there is a recognized opportunity for reducing harmful pollutants by addressing small volumes of hazardous materials and wastes, commonly referred to as moderate risk waste. Moderate risk waste are hazardous waste generated by both businesses that produce small quantities on a regular basis and also households like our own. These waste streams are not going to be regulated the same way that they would in the case of a large volume producer of hazardous waste. So it really is up to the local governments to provide those resources for proper waste management, and I think most importantly to educate on the merits and the means of waste reduction. So with that, our 2014 Hazardous Waste Management Plan underwent a revision to ensure that the messaging had not changed really, and to revise the data with current day numbers. Overall, the existing processes and procedures and the resources underwent little to no change. The majority of the updates were due to changes in population data, demographics data, and to address some code references that had changed since the 2014 update. One element that is new that I want to talk about is the plan to push to educate the public on proper handling and management of used oil. So that is now going to require resellers who sell certain volumes of oil and oil filters with the intention for home, DIY oil change use, to place signage at the point where the oil or filters are sold, and to also offer for sale oil collection pans at that same location. The signage will be used to educate on proper drainage, collection, recycling practices, both for used oil and the filters, and the containers will provide a safe means for transporting those used oils. Removed from the plan is the long since retired Thurston County Waste Mobile, but with that departure, we did see a few more resources for waste recycling that we were able to add, so things like Paint Care, eCycle, Light Recycle Washington, and then we also have our own marina waste pickup program that our solid and hazardous waste staff actually manages. And then last, I think the next big update, last once the plan is finalized, we'll also be posting the contents on our webpage on our Thurston County website. And that's going to break it down into, easier to read chapters and kind of explains the purpose behind each chapter rather than the huge 200+ page document that we're all used to seeing. So with that, I guess I can open it to any questions you might have, and I'll try and answer them to the best of my abilities.
Nick, do you have anything? Obviously, you were on this advisory board.
Really to simplify, a lot of it was just kind of getting rid of some things that don't really apply anymore, and then adding a few things that do. So there's not really major changes. Cities can always do a management plan on their own, but kind of it's always been done at the group level like this. So I definitely would recommend, moving forward with this. They go pretty in depth through this, this whole thing, and it is a big lift for them to do. And this time, like I said, it's kind of like time to time periodic updates, and it's been about 11 years, so it's kind of a good time to update it. So,
would you like to make the motion then?
Yeah, I would motion to approve motion to adopt 2025 Thurston County Hazardous Waste Management Plan.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt the hazardous waste management plan and to sign the resolution. Any discussion?
For the record, it's Resolution 1178.
Resolution 1178. Any other discussion? Then all in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? That motion unanimously carries. Thank you. Thank you for all your work on this.
Yes, thank you so much.
So now we'll go into our next items, which is ordinances. The first one's Ordinance 1689 for the Indigent Defense Standards Amendment. Shannon.
Well, good evening again, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and council members. I am here to talk about a ordinance. This is Ordinance 1689, which would amend the standards for indigent defense. Our recommendation for tonight is to maintain compliance with the Washington State Supreme Court standards. And by doing that, we recommend that you approve Ordinance 1689, which would update the standards for indigent defense, amending Lacey Municipal Code 960-010. Just for a little background on this subject, since this didn't come before a work session for the City Council, cities are required by state law to adopt standards for indigent defense services. And they note in the RCW that the Washington State Bar Association could serve as guidelines in adopting standards. The courts have the Washington State Supreme Court with the authority to adopt and amend Washington rules of court, including standards for indigent defense. So the city would have to adopt laws that are in compliance with the standards that are established by the Washington State Supreme Court. So just for a little bit of background, and there is a little bit over 10 years of history that we're going to go through really quickly here, but please ask questions if you have any. In 2012, the Washington State Supreme Court issued a court order that adopted new standards, and there were a lot of things that were included within this order, but I'm just going to focus on kind of what's pertinent here for today's topic, and that is that it updated that there were 400 cases per indigent defense attorney. Before that, there wasn't a standard that was set on the number of cases that could be assigned for each public defender. In response to that, the Lacey City Council in 2014 adopted a new chapter in the Lacey Municipal Code. This was 960, and it contains standards that comply with both RCW, the state laws, so 10-101-03, as well as the Washington State Supreme Court order. So you can see here, I know the font is very small. Up on the top, what we have here is we have the Washington State Supreme Court order, which talks about the total of cases that could be assigned per attorney. And then below it, you can see the Lacey Municipal Code, and it's just a section of the code. But what you can see is that it mirrors that limit of 400 here in this particular LMC.
Quick question for you. The 400 cases per attorney, is that per year, or is that or is that like at a given time?
Yeah, that is per a year.
Thank you.
Yep, for the caseloads. And you can see, like I was just saying, the municipal code here takes that 400 and it codifies that 400 number. So in 2023, fast forward about a decade, what we have is the Washington State Supreme Court requested that the Washington State Bar Association review a newly released National Public Defense Workload Study and provide recommendations. So the Washington State Bar Association Council did make a recommendation and proposed revisions to the Washington State Bar Association standards. In 2014, the Washington State Bar Association Council recommended revisions were adopted by the Bar Association Board of Governors, and then the Bar Association Board of Governors recommended that the Washington State Supreme Court incorporate the Washington State Bar Association's revised standards into the court rules governing indigent defense standards. In 2025, and this is current status, the Washington State Supreme Court hasn't completed its full review, but what they did do was they rendered a partial interim order on cases specifically. So you can see here on June 9th, 2025, they issued an interim order that basically states that the new caseload standards effective January 1st, 2026, and you have to have full implementation no later than January 1st, 2036, is reducing the number of cases from the 400 cases a year assigned per public defender to 120 cases per year per public defender by 2036. And they have some language in there on how this is to be done. You can see the red box here is highlighting that the implementation should be accomplished. It could be accomplished in a phased approach, but there has to be an annual reduction of at least 10% of the difference between the current standard and the new standard. So that takes us, going backwards in time here, that takes us to what those new standards would look like. So in Table B, what you have is effectively kind of a breakdown of those caseload standards changing. And then in Table C, what those total numbers would look like on a yearly basis for jurisdictions. So you can see in 2025 in Table C that the caseload limit per attorney is 400. And then with that reduction of that 10%, it's 28 fewer cases per year per attorney. And so you can see in 2026, that has to be reduced to at least 372 cases per attorney, and then 28 cases each year subsequent to that, all the way down to 120 cases in 2035, 36. And you can see in totality, that is about a reduction of 70% of cases from 2025 to 2036 with full implementation.
Do you know what our standard is right now? How many?
400 is what's in the Lacey Municipal Code.
I understand that.
What do we
but
turn over?
What's the reality? How many?
We're very close to nearly 400 for each of our attorneys.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
So this is a problem that we've been aware of in Washington State for at least since 2012, right? And you could compare this to like imagining an elementary school teacher had 50 kids in her classroom or his classroom or whoever, instead of having a more reasonable number of kids, right? This is so many cases that require research and hearings and all the process. So this is a problem we've been aware of since 2012. Is what's happening now that the Supreme Court is basically giving teeth to the recommendations to reduce the caseload per attorney? Because they flagged it in 2012, and nothing changed until now, and it's 2025, and so now they're requiring a reduction in cases.
I would say, so just in 2012, they did a first reduction. So there wasn't a standard for the number
So
of
they
cases.
set the standard at 400.
They set the number at
In
400.
2012.
A new
Okay.
national study has since come out, and so the review, the recommendations, and then the interim order reduced it further down from 400 to the 120 and by 2036.
Yeah, I mean, the reduction seems eminently reasonable, and it will also be very expensive for local jurisdictions.
Which was my question. So we've all looked at this and kind of workshopped it and had it in our work sessions, and we really haven't heard anything about the state having any effort to help absorb any of this cost. We know that there's going to be at least another $100,000 a year that we're going to be responsible for, which is going to compound, creating a budget situation for us in future years, up to about $1 million extra per year that we're going to have to be responsible for. But I haven't heard is, has the state talked about any way to address that you've heard of?
Sure. So, and I think that was a great segue, thank you, to the next slide, which is that our total fiscal impact at this point in time is unknown. Our clearest estimates right now, and these are preliminary, is that it's going to be anywhere between $80,000 to $100,000+ for each year of implementation. And staff is working very hard on, creating a new contract with our public defenders to make sure that we are going to be meeting these new standards. The city is going to continue to advocate for public defense support and funding. So this was one of the priorities listed in our 2026 state legislative agenda. This was also a priority listed in most city agendas, as well as the Association of Washington Cities, the Association of Washington Counties. And so we're going to be continuing to advocate for additional support from the state level. One thing, you asked about what kind of support does exist or what has the city or the state looked at. The state does have a couple of competitive grants that we do compete and have successfully competed for before in the past, and we will continue to take a look into those. In addition to that, House Bill 2015 last year, which passed, did provide another mechanism for public safety, which could include public defense and court services.
And that one's it has a 3-year sunset.
Correct. There is a 3-year sunset for grant funding. However, it's a new state sales tax that jurisdictions could use for funding public safety. Thank you. Public defense, public safety. Just want to make sure we got the right one out there.
And just to add to what Shannon responded with is going into 2026, and you'll be considering this later on tonight with the proposed budget. But for 2026, we've identified that first year cost and was able to plan and address for it within the budget for this coming year. But again, it goes back to we need to figure out some other options, whether working with the state legislature and trying to figure out some solutions or funding, or goes into our budget planning for 2027 to cover those next year costs and over time, the 10-year period.
Yep.
All right. So I may be out of line here, right? But if you take 300 cases with 250 on the average working days out of the year, that's 1.2 cases a day per attorney, right? And if you lower it down to 120, that goes down to 0.52. It doesn't seem, I mean, I'm not a lawyer. Dave, I highly respect you, but I know you're a hardworking man, lawyer, but it seems like a half a case a day. It does not seem like, I mean, maybe it is a lot, but another unfunded mandate by the state, and no way to pay for it. It just seems like it keeps happening every year. The states ask more and more from local government, and with no tools in the toolbox to help it financially. So,
well, this is something that the Association of Washington Cities is sort of leading the charge. I 100% agree that someone deserves proper indigent defense, right? It's just like saying would you rather have 100 students in your classroom, or would you rather have 30 students in your classroom, right? You'd rather have 30 students in your classroom for the benefit. The problem is the reality of the fact is that if this was fully implemented, there are not enough attorneys in the state of Washington to cover these caseloads. They just don't exist. So it's not, we're just one city. You have to think about this as a standard for every city and county across the state of Washington. And so it's like, it's one of those good intentions, but that doesn't meet up with the reality of, what we're dealing with on the ground. And so there's going to have to be a fix, because this is going to, there's either one or two things going to happen. It's either going to bankrupt cities, or there's going to have to be a massive additional help from the state, or we're just not going to prosecute people, right? And
or a speedy trial will be not speedy at all.
yeah, but there's no way we can keep up with it, so we just won't prosecute anyone. And I don't think that we want our streets to be left safe and not hold people accountable because of a state law that's not allowing that to happen. So there has to be a fix going forward, is what I'm saying. It's just the reality that we're up against. But in the meantime, we have no choice. We need to.
I understand that. That's where a lot of frustration comes out, and me pointing out the caseload. So
yeah, I totally understand that, but
Mr. Mayor, can I make a motion?
Please.
I move that we approve Ordinance 1689 related to the standards for indigent defense, amending Lacey Municipal Code 9.60.010.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
It is a complicated issue. I think this is still a move in the right direction. We need to figure out how to fund it. We need to make sure the workforce exists, but this is the right thing to do for people who need indigent defense and our community.
I'm going to explain my abstaining from this because it's in protest. I don't agree with it.
That's your prerogative. Is there anyone else?
This is something that we're going to be discussing probably every single year and trying to do that. And we're just going to have to see whatever the consequences, good or bad, are as they come. And maybe it's going to be a great thing. And, I hope it is, and they can get the amount of lawyers and people can get the right defense. And I think we'll just have to take this as it comes. And I'm sure we're going to have a lot more conversation over the next few years about this. So
I agree.
To be continued.
If I could, too, just on that comment, and I think it's a really good one, Councilmember Dunning, is the approach that we're going to try to take here with the ordinance is to try to evergreen it so that if caseload standards change in the future, we will have adopted it by reference. But to the point you just made, like I mentioned, they still have not provided a full order of all of the recommendations, and so there are likely changes that are going to be coming in addition to talking about what future contracts look for public defense.
And as those changes come, we'll keep council apprised, and you're right, we will continue to talk about this issue and figure out how to financially plan for it, or work with AWC and the state legislature to look for some fixes as well.
There's a motion and a second to approve Ordinance 1689 related to the standards for indigent defense. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Please raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, one nay. The motion passes. So next up on our agenda, under ordinances, is 1690, the cable utility tax. Back to Shannon.
Right, one more ordinance for me, council, and then I will hand off the ordinance baton. So our ordinance that is in front of you right now is 1690, and our recommendation would be to adopt ordinance 1690, and by doing so, it would add a 6%, it would impose a 6% utility tax on cable services. And our estimated fiscal impact would that this would increase revenue in the general fund about $720,000 annually. We've talked about this topic at a number of previous city council meetings, including the latest one being at the regular meeting on December 2nd, 2025. Just really quickly, we took a look throughout our previous conversations about some of the, statutory requirements for utility taxes, including taking a look at cable and how the requirement on what could be the highest rate is that it just can't be unduly discriminatory per federal law. And you can see our city rate for all of our other utility taxes up here for phone, natural gas, water, sewer, solid waste, stormwater, currently at 6%. We also took a look through this process at comparable cities, and what we found was that a lot of our peers have already adopted and imposed cable utility taxes. Lacey was one of the outliers that had not previously imposed a cable utility tax. The average of some of the peer jurisdictions we looked at was 5.8% was the utility tax rate. Ordinance 1690 would establish a 6% utility tax rate on cable services. It would also make a few minor technical revisions to the section, including adding a definition of cable service, removing references to public in public utility businesses to just utility businesses to broaden the category, since the cable business is a private utility. And it would also add cable services to utility business. So you can see the redlined language that is updated here in 1690. Again, our recommendation would be to adopt Ordinance 1690, and some of the considerations that we previously talked about at previous council meetings was how that this would be a rate that was similar to other jurisdictions. It would be in alignment with existing taxes on private utility businesses. It would help the city's short and long-term fiscal needs, and also that cable service is a discretionary service. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Can I get a motion?
Move to adopt ordinance 1690 related to utility tax, imposing a utility tax upon the conduct of cable services within the city, amending sections 3.01.020-06, 3.01.070, and 3.01.090, all of the Lacey Municipal Code, and approving a summary for publication.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion, Councilmember?
The only thing I would say here is, this is probably the only tax that the only councilmatic tax that I could probably support at this time for a couple of reasons. One, it doesn't make any sense to me that it's the only utility that we're not taxing, and that we're the only jurisdiction in the state, or at least the only one I've seen, that isn't charging any tax on utilities. And then also because, as Shannon mentioned, because it's the one thing that is discretionary, as opposed to, water or sewer or any of those things that people have to use. It's a discretionary expense. So this is probably the only tax that I would support on a councilmatic basis at this point.
Anyone else? No, I agree with you, Councilmember Greenstein. This is actually one of those things that's always has sort of stuck in my craw over the years. I've known this for a long time, that we haven't been taxing this utility, and we've known, well, for as long as I've looked into this, so at least probably 14 years, maybe longer than that, when we first this was first brought up, that we were the only jurisdiction not charging this, and that this was a source of revenue that was actually going down every year because people are using less and less cable, and they're going to other sources. And so I thought it's made a lot of sense for a long time to at least considering our budget constraints that we have. And there's not a great way for us to fund the local government. We have a really bad regressive tax system. We've done an amazing job here in the city of Lacey being very fiscally responsible, and through it all, we still, the council knows how much budget pressure that we have every single year. We just talked about indigent defense for starting next year, and so we have to make smart, prudent decisions, and this, to me, seems like it's been a no-brainer for a long time. I'm finally glad that we're looking at this and at least going into alignment with every other jurisdiction our size, that when it comes to our comparables, when it comes to our cable services. So I'll also be in support of it. Anyone else? Then it's been moved and seconded. All in favor of adopting Ordinance 1690 related to utility tax and imposing a utility tax upon the conduct of cable services within the city of Lacey, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Then that motion unanimously carries.
Great, thank you, Council.
So now we're on to our 1691, our reserve designation.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Council. My name is Chelsea Knight, and I'm serving as the Acting Financial Services Manager. And I'm here this evening to request adoption of Ordinance 1691 related to reserve designations. The council work sessions on October 28th and December 9th included detailed discussions regarding council-committed reserves. This draft ordinance reflects those discussions and the priorities of council at this point in the process. Refined discussion will occur in the coming months. In total, $53,589,802 will be committed in alignment with the council's stated priorities. At the meeting last week, I just want to mention that we stated that Public Art Reserve would be moving from the Building Improvement Fund to the Current Expense Fund, but we've actually decided that it makes more sense to do that in 2026. So that is in the ordinance the way that we presented it on December 9th within the Building Improvement Fund. Also, historically, the City Council has granted the authority to both the City Manager and the Finance Director to assign funds based on priorities and initiatives established by Council. So if agreeable, we would like to proceed with that arrangement for the remaining 2025 fund balance once those final numbers are known. So maybe just a head nod or something that's okay. Okay, thank you. And then the action requested of council tonight is adoption of Ordinance 1691, establishing fund balance designations as provided by the Governmental Accounting Standards Board Statement Number 54.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That motion unanimously carries.
Thank you.
Then we're on to our next one, which is our business and occupation tax model.
All right, thank you again. So I would like to request the adoption of Ordinance 1692 related to the B&O tax model ordinance. So in 2025 legislative session, Senate Bill 5814 changed the state's definition of retail sales to include some additional services. This requires the model to be updated. This update will be effective January 1, 2026, and impacts Lacey Municipal Code 3.02.040. This was discussed in detail at the council work session on December 9th. And just as a reminder, the affected service categories are advertising services, live presentations, information technology services, custom website development services, investigation, security, and armored car services, temporary staffing services, and lastly, sales of custom software and customization of pre-written software. So with that, the action requested of council is adoption of Ordinance 1692, amending the Lacey Municipal Code 3.02.040 to comply with the statewide model ordinance for B&O tax.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Who authorized the change to include these new categories?
The state
The
legislature.
state legislator
I
did.
just wanted to make sure everybody heard that.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and it's and as I pointed out in our work session, it's actually really unfair during this last quarter because they started having to pay sales tax on these services starting October 1st, and when they weren't paying sales tax before, but they're paying a higher B&O tax, so they lowered the B&O tax and put a sales tax on it instead. But in this last quarter, they're paying sales tax and the higher B&O tax that doesn't switch over to January 1st. So it's, yeah, you weren't here. It's totally unacceptable. Like, I don't understand it whatsoever. It's like, it seems so unfair for those businesses, but we don't, this is coming down from the state, so we are going to come into compliance. So there's so moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor of adopting Ordinance 1692, amending Lacey Municipal Code to comply with the statewide B&O tax ordinance, signifies by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Nay.
We have one, all ayes and one nay. The motion passes.
Thank you.
So next up is our 2026 budget.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Ryder. Good evening, council. For your consideration tonight is ordinance number 1693, which will establish your 2026 budget. Your total budget being proposed is $224,954,147. Of that, the general fund budget is proposed at $74,396,916. These are both significant decreases compared to the current year budget, primarily due to lower capital programs. This is a budget that maintains our level of service for our community. This is a budget that maintains staffing levels. That one's for Joe. This is a budget that preserves critical infrastructure. It addresses environmental regulations. It replaces aging equipment. This is a budget that plans for our community's future through sustainability investments, an annexation study next year, and the design of the RAC improvements. This is a budget that also addresses increased maintenance costs due to our police station in Cuyo Park. This is a good budget, but it's not perfect. Revenue projections fall short of the money needed to fund many departmental requests, including staffing to maintain our service levels, the growth within our community. It's going to be a challenge to maintain those service levels that our communities come to expect. But we're going to work hard to do that. This budget falls short by $3 million. Thankfully, to the council's vision in identifying reserves, we have some time to take a methodical approach in addressing this shortfall. It gives us time. We don't have to be reactive. We're really at the midpoint of a 2-year process to develop a plan to bridge that gap through revenue enhancements, and you've already taken action on some of these. We're going to develop a plan for strategic economic development investments in this community for the long-term growth of our tax base. And lastly, we're going to look at priorities and service levels. We do have a plan. We have a lot of work to do. The good news is we've accomplished a lot already. The council and staff will continue to move in that direction to bridge this gap. So I'm proud to present this budget to you. Our recommendation is adoption. I do want to thank you, the council, for your guidance, your leadership, your policy direction, as well as the city manager, all of the city staff. This is a very thoughtful budget. There's sacrifice within this budget. We really owe it to our staff in putting this budget together. I can't not say anything about the finance staff. The entire finance staff has contributed to this, but I do have to recognize a few very important people in that process in finance: Christy Wolf, Chelsea Knight, Gabby Wolf, and Alex Turquette. But really, it's an entire team effort here at the city. With that, I'll hand that over to you for any final questions. But again, recommendation is adoption of the 2026 budget.
I would move to adopt ordinance number 1693, setting the total 2026 budget in the amount of $224,954,147, and the general fund total budget in the amount of $74,396,916.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Go ahead.
I just want to say, I think as a city, but council staff and the whole city, we really owe a debt of gratitude to past councils and really good, solid staff and fiscal management. The $3 million shortage, we're in a position that we can afford to pay it, right? We have the money in reserves, which not a lot of jurisdictions do. I mean, you're seeing all over the state, and we're seeing it locally, jurisdictions having to cut services, lay off staff, all of these things. And Joe Upton made the comment when he was up here earlier that we've never laid anyone off in Lacey. That's because of really good, sound, responsible budgeting over many, many years. So I just want to thank the staff and the prior councils for the great work they've done to put us in this position that we're not having to take drastic action, and we will get through it. I mean, it's going to be tough, and obviously, we're lucky to have a staff that puts in just super dedicated staff that works tirelessly and does a lot with less than a lot of other cities might. A lot of other cities have more people to do the work that our people are doing. So thank you to our staff, the entire city staff, for just incredible work.
I echo those comments entirely. It's kind of similar to what I was going to say. I'm so grateful to work for a city where we prioritize maintaining the staff and not having to do layoffs. And it has been hard serving and watching how lean we are in some areas and knowing that if we had more staff, it would be easier on our staff to cover the ground that they cover and provide services to the community. And I think it's the right choice not to hire people until you know that you can maintain those positions and continue the funding. So I'm really proud of this budget and all the work that went into it.
You know, every time I see an article in the paper about another jurisdiction, their budget, I am so grateful for not only the work that you guys do in finance, but the sacrifices and understanding that every department in Lacey has, and knowing that this is, it's not just finance, it's public works, it's our police officers, it's really everybody contributing to the well-being of Lacey. And that's just been something that has been, a common theme for decades, long before I was ever part of Lacey. And it makes our life so much easier not to have to be in that line of fire. And you guys are really the ones responsible for that. So thank you again for everything all the department heads really do to make sure that goes smoothly.
Well, I would say, we can't really act too surprised. We knew this was coming. We ran lean as a city staff for decades. So it is expensive, full-time employees, right? But it's also our biggest asset. So I'll say that.
Yeah, great job by the staff. There are several cities, jurisdictions that that make a lot more money than we do, but have a lot less residents than we do. And also having shortages in the budget. So it just kind of seems to me that, we have really stewarded the money really well during those years of growth, especially out in the Hawks Prairie area. All those dollars got saved, and we were able to build a new police station without adding any tax burden to the residents of the city. And that's a direct correlation to the budgeting that's happened over the years. I also wanted to recognize our city manager, who I believe this is his second budget. Third budget. And so we have regular meetings. I see it on, I just so that you guys know and understand, our city manager works really hard to make sure that he's overseeing all of this and making sure that number stays down as low as possible when it comes to, any kind of a budget shortfall in identifying additional revenues in areas that we can cut expenses. And so some of the product that you saw earlier tonight was a direct reflection of his efforts to get us into balance. So thank you for your leadership there.
Yeah, I mean, this is, my 16th year doing this, and I learned really early on that if you want to look at a city's values, you look at the budget they adopt. And I have always been proud of the values here in the city of Lacey with our public safety, with our public works, with our parks. You go down the line, it's what makes Lacey so special. And it starts with the budget, the work that we do every year. And I'm very proud again to be able to be voting on this budget because I think it does reflect our values here in our community. So with that, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I want to make one more comment, and then I'll read the motion. How about that?
Great.
All righty. I just want to add, I think Malcolm stole some of my thunder here on that, but how much I really appreciate the leadership, starting with Rick and Troy and your whole staff have shown, and all the other directors who collectively found, well over $1 million that got us to a better starting point with the budget, and the way you've worked with councils to help us understand through all this process. So I too am very proud to represent Lacey and to be a part of this organization. So with that, I'd like to move to adopt ordinance number 1693.
Oh, there is already actually a motion on the floor.
It's already on the table.
Yeah,
There's a motion
we
on
went
the
to
floor.
discussion. So there's a.
Oh, we did.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's all right, but I appreciate your jumping in there.
We were quick.
There's a There is a motion and a second on the floor. Are we done with discussion? Then all favor of the motion to adopt ordinance 1693 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion unanimously carries. Yeah. Thanks. Absolutely. Next up is our ordinance 1694, which is our comprehensive plan adoption. We have some big ones on this agenda.
Yeah, it's an ordinance marathon tonight. So, good evening, council. I will kick this off and hand it over to Ryan over at the podium. But I just wanted to start the next two ordinances with a thank you to the council and their support and commitment in the last 2 years and dedication to this comprehensive plan process. This has been a long process, 2 years plus getting to this evening. And so thank you for your time, your dedication, and your support getting to this place. And then second, I also want to acknowledge the Community and Economic Development staff. If you look in your staff report, there's been more than 6,000 hours of staff time just from Community and Economic Development put into this comprehensive plan. And really, those efforts were led by Ryan Andrews, our community planning manager, and Hans, who's kind of like the key sidekick to our comp plan effort, but also Lindsay Fields in climate and Jennifer Adams in housing and a number of other employees within CED. But with that, I also want to acknowledge the director team as well as staff within many other departments that contributed to this effort, specifically the Transportation Division of Public Works, who also is here this evening. A huge lift for them to do the transportation element. So with that, a big thank you to them. There's many other thank yous we have as well, but I will save those for Ryan in his presentation. So go ahead, Ryan.
All right. Thank you. Good evening, council. So I'm going to share some information with you. You've definitely seen this before. And then we'd actually have two motions in front of you tonight, two ordinances that need to be adopted separately. So we'll go through that here in a little bit and some additional thank yous as well. So a little bit about the background and update process that the city went through to update its comprehensive plan. First of all, we are required in the state of Washington to plan underneath the Growth Management Act. We're required to review and update our comprehensive plan every 10 years. This year we do have a December 31st deadline to complete this work. So therefore we're here at the last meeting of the year to get this done. This plan was last adopted in 2016. At a high level, the comprehensive plan establishes the community vision for the next 20 years. Some might say it's the city's most important planning document. There are some required plan elements that we do have to include in the comprehensive plan. You see those on the screen there. I do want to highlight a couple that are new for this year under a couple state requirements that we now have to include, which includes a greenhouse gas reduction element and a climate resiliency sub-element as well. The rest of these elements on the screen have been updated in some fashion or form, except for our parks and recreation, capital facilities, and shorelines regulations, which were previously adopted. But in the ordinance that's in front of you tonight, we will be reaffirming each one of those elements as well as updating them into our comprehensive plan. So as a part of the outreach for the comprehensive plan, we obviously wanted to make sure that the comp plan reflects the community vision. And we did that through essentially 4 different phases of community outreach that was done as part of a community engagement plan. So it began almost 2 years ago with visioning exercises, went through a community priorities process, and then reviewing the draft and final plan. And those little orange kind of icons at the bottom identify different opportunities for public engagement that we've had along the way. And I'll go into this in a little bit more detail here in a second. So not only did we want it to reflect the community's vision for the future, but the council told us long ago that they wanted to make sure that this reflected the council vision as well. And so this, it's got a lot of dots on there, a lot of small text, don't need to read it. Only understand that this is the 15th meeting you've had on the comprehensive plan update. So that's substantial, right? It probably is close to what the Planning Commission had, in fact. So, we have done this hand in glove with the council, and so at this time, there should be really no surprises when it comes to what's in the comprehensive plan, because you've come along with us through the whole process. So let's start a little bit with what that visioning process included. And this is really just a summary slide here that talks about who we reached out to through all of our different community events and surveys and those kinds of things. And you'll see on the screen that the demographics largely reflects, within a few percentage points, the residents of the Lacey community. I did want to point out, though, that, I think it's impressive. The impressive number here is approximately 60,000 community contacts across the Lacey community. Obviously, our population is close to that amount, so that included people in the urban growth area as well. And you can see on the map here, when we did some digital surveying through some web-based platforms, we asked people to put in their addresses, and you can see where those people were coming from, largely within the city of Lacey, with some people also residing in our urban growth area as well. So the second phase of the overall project was to identify the priorities of the community. Now that we established the vision, we wanted to know what the community priorities were. And these were 6 different priorities that were identified through our different outreach efforts. Listed number 1 at the top was connected communities. So this is in volume of the number of responses. So connected communities was really walking and biking and transportation issues. Public health and safety was number 2. Housing was number 3. Environmental issues number 4. Community identity 5. And economic vitality. And you'll see that reflected throughout the comprehensive plan, not only in those individual elements, but within the goals and policies as well. Brought us to the review of the draft plan, which includes the following. It includes the goals and policies, which sets the vision of the community in writing. It also includes a future land use map, which is the first ever future land use map that we've had here in Lacey. Future land use map is essentially a high-level map that identifies broad categories of land instead of identifying them as individual zones. So think of in terms of residential areas, commercial areas, mixed use areas, open space, et cetera, instead of thinking about specific zones. Also, a number of zoning updates, and this is important to be consistent with the overall comprehensive plan update. So as part of the comprehensive plan, we have to make sure that our development regulations and implementing regulations are consistent. A number of zoning map updates, including zoning consolidations and some community rezone requests. And then all of these are to be displayed in a new comprehensive plan website. Not going to be able to show you the website here tonight, other than to say it is at the following URL, laceycomplan.com. So we were able to buy that as our new kind of hosting site for the future comprehensive plan. At this point, it's still a little bit of a work in progress. So give us another month or so, and we will have essentially what's in front of you tonight fully uploaded to that website. It is in kind of a draft form on that website at this point. It's, as far as I'm aware, maybe one of the few in the state to be a web-based comprehensive plan, which is exciting. And then as we headed towards the end of the process, did want to kind of wrap it up with talking about the feedback that the Planning Commission did receive at the public hearing. So they held a public hearing on October 8th where there was a number of comments that were received, and those are a part of your packet tonight. And after that public hearing, they did make a unanimous recommendation on October 22nd, a recommendation of approval to the City Council. So as I mentioned, there's 2 actions in front of you tonight. One would be to approve Ordinance 1694, which is actually the comprehensive plan update and completing that process. And then action number 2, to approve Ordinance 1695, which is the zoning amendments necessary to implement the comprehensive plan. So before I turn it over to you for any questions, I did want to say thank you and add a little bit to the list that Vanessa started. So first of all, wanted to give thanks to our boards and commissions. So obviously the Planning Commission did a significant amount of heavy lifting when it comes to this plan. It's very much an intensive process with Planning Commission. Wanted to give them a lot of thanks. I did see Spencer Zeman here. He's part of our Planning Commission. He unfortunately had to leave. The Commission on Equity, which this also went through the Commission on Equity as well. So thank you to them. And then the Youth Council too. So unfortunately, we didn't get to the Youth Council with this year's Youth Council because we were so far ahead in the process, but we did reach out to the Youth Council in previous years, and they were really instrumental and influential in the entire process. As Vanessa mentioned, some thank yous to staff. So this is the Community Economic Development Department. Hans, thank you so much. Jennifer Adams, Lindsay Fields, Sarah Schelling, Shannon Vincent, Wesley Wynn, Shannon Bell, and Vanessa, thank you for keeping us on track. Public Works, thank you to Aubrey Collier, Martin Hoppy, and Chris Stolberg. The City Manager and Communications Department, especially Donna Feliciano, who helped us out so much. Parks, Culture, and Recreation, thank you to Jenny Wilson. And Department Directors, thank you for buying into Vanessa's idea to do a website once upon a time. Our consultants, we had a number of consultants working on this project. MIG, Ramey and Associates, Burke, Fair and Piers, and Uncommon Bridges worked on various elements of this. MIG was the main one overseeing our website and our outreach that we did. Our regional entities, much of the work that we completed, especially related to housing and some other things, were done in partnership with our partner cities of Olympia, Tumwater, and Yelm. Thurston County as well, the Thurston Regional Planning Council, and Olympia Master Builders, who was provided a lot of comments and feedback throughout this process as well. And then finally, thank you to the Lacey community. We couldn't have done it without the 60,000 people that we reached out to along the way. So hopefully, I think the council will agree that this reflects the community's vision and sets us forward on a good path for the next 20 years. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I would move to approve ordinance 1694, adopting the 2025 update to the Lacey Comprehensive Plan.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Thank you. Thank you so much for all of your work. If anyone's doing the math, 6,000 hours is almost 3 people's full-time work for a year. That's a tremendous amount of commitment by the staff of the City of Lacey to getting this done. And we've created like a simplified, accessible plan. I'm so excited it's going to be on a website so that people in the community can just go look at it whenever they want and find the things that they're interested in. Because the document on paper is, 430 pages or so. And so the website's really going to help people find what they're interested in. One of the purposes of the comprehensive plan at the beginning of the document is to inject long-range considerations into the determination of short-range actions. So making sure that the things that we're doing today contribute to the vision for our community in the future. And that's really incredible work. So thank you very much for all your effort. I'm very proud of this plan.
This feels like one of those moments when 2 years worth of work and wham, bam, thank you. So I want to extend my thanks to all of you. And I remember going through the 2016 plan when I was on the Planning Commission. So yeah. I know what a labor of love that is. So thank you.
Vanessa, Ryan, Hans, Sarah, I'm going to leave a couple people out, but you showed tremendous amount of grace and grit, right? When we constantly sent you back to just a little bit more, right? Mm-hmm. Super appreciate it. You guys are so professional, so hardworking that you guys deserve a lot more acclimates than you actually get. So thank you.
I just wanted to say you crushed that last presentation. That's how you present, guys. So I'm just saying, end the year strong.
So,
just real quick.
Go ahead.
So, we really got to follow along with this one, and we got to see it as it kind of developed and unfolded, especially during some of the work sessions. And, every time you see a piece of the comprehensive plan on a work session, honestly, at first I cringed a little bit because I knew it was going to be an hour and a half, 2 hours worth of that. But after a while, I just, started saying, hey, I'm going to be late. And I did want your guys' opinion on something though, and this is for staff that has worked on this comprehensive plan. Doing it this hand in glove with council, and first of all, incredible amount of outreach that you guys did, going to other communities, reaching 60,000 people. I don't think that we've ever done that. But the hand in glove process with council on this, did you find any benefit? Are you guys happy with how that worked out?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think we have any complaints. Getting back to what initiated this were statements from the council saying, hey, this kind of doesn't reflect our vision anymore. This was maybe the plan that was adopted in 1994 and updated in 2003 and then updated again in 2016. We were kind of operating under the same kind of plan for a long time. And I think this, when we've talked about it before, is a little bit of a new vision and sets forth kind of a new format for the comprehensive plan. And it was important that we get your buy-in into that. And so, it was a positive thing. It was also great to be able to take information back to the Planning Commission and say, hey, these are some of the things that the council is giving us. So it wasn't just totally, maybe in the past have been very much Planning Commission driven. This time it was like a little bit of like, we were able to share the messages kind of back and forth. Hey, this is what the Planning Commission's working on. Hey, this is what the council's telling us. And I think that worked out well.
Okay. Yeah. Well, obviously a lot of thank yous have already gone out. It was interesting because at the beginning of this, it felt like it was going to be just another little update, but as we started getting into it, we've come up with a whole new plan, and I don't know if didn't feel like that was going to be what we were going to see when we finally got to the end here. But I do want to thank the Planning Commission and all the staff and going through this process when we realized there is a lot more work here than we originally thought, and we did want to put our stamp on it, and that required just so much more work than I think we all thought was going to happen at the beginning. So thank you for doing that pivot. Thank you for the city manager and everyone else who's been kept the council involved in this all along the way. And I think we're all very proud of the project that we have here in the end. And I think the planning that we do here in Lacey is excellent, and it's one of the reasons why we've seen the growth in our community and why people want to live, work, play, everything that we plan for here in our community. And so thanks again. There's been a motion and a second to approve Ordinance 1694, which is adopting the 2025 update to the comprehensive plan. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Then that motion unanimously carries. And our second motion is to approve Ordinance 1695 by adopting the Title 16 zoning amendments necessary to implement the 2025 comprehensive plan. I move for that. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That motion unanimously carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Applause is
Yeah.
needed.
Okay, now we're on to the mayor's report. I have, there's 4 reappointments to the Commission on Equity. They all have been serving with extinction,
Mayor?
and so, yeah.
What about the Title 16 zoning amendment?
Oh, we just did that.
That one,
That was the second one. I know it's kind
okay,
of,
sorry.
There was a little
I know.
bit confusion. It was one
Yeah.
presentation for both actions, but they had to be separate, so.
yeah.
Good. I don't want to slow us down.
No problem. So I will move that we reappoint Raul Garza, Clifton Brown, John Hedgewood, and Kim Sauer to the Commission on Equity.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
We're lucky that we have folks continuing to want to serve on our Equity Commission. They're doing great work.
Absolutely.
You really are. And I just heard from a Tumwater City Council member that they are following our equity policy very closely and establishing their own, which is, I think, reflects the excellent work that Lacey's led on.
Absolutely. Any other discussion? It's been moved and seconded to reappoint these 4 members to our Commission on Equity. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And that motion unanimously carries. Now we're on to the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. I have one agenda item and one announcement to make after this topic on my report tonight. The first item is the 2026 Lodging Tax Funding Awards, and as the council is aware, you've been reviewing the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee's recommendation, and tonight to provide a recap of that recommendation, we have Sadie Siglin in our city manager's office to provide an overview. So,
Well, good evening, council. Thank you for having me. I think I get to be the last staff presentation at the last council meeting of 2025, so have to get like a magnet for the fridge or something about that. But as Rick mentioned, I'm here to discuss the 2026 lodging tax. As a brief overview, this council did review lodging tax recommendations for funding by the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee on November 18th. Before final action was taken, this council requested follow-up information about the fan zone, reported attendance for lodging tax funded activities, and funding reimbursements. You will see in your staff report attachments, including attachment 2 regarding the fan zone, and then attachment 3 and 4 for specific information regarding funding reimbursements. I have some reported attendance info to review for you, but tonight we are looking for a recommendation to approve the lodging tax funding awards. As a quick recap, lodging tax fund revenues are restricted by the state for use for tourism marketing, special events and festivals, and operations of qualifying tourism-related facilities. Looking into reported attendance for lodging tax-funded activities, this is a requirement of the Washington State Legislature. So all applicants and recipients have to provide reported attendance information. And this doesn't always just include people who go to attend the activities or participate in them. This can also include vendors, volunteers, entertainers, and staff putting on the activities. So those are all counted in those reported attendance figures that we get on those reports. Additionally, those numbers can vary based on activity frequency. As this council previously heard, we have some funded activities like facilities that are open year-round, and we have some events that are maybe a sporting activity and have a season or occur, like we heard from the night market earlier, multiple occurrences over the year. So that can significantly impact the number of attendees. Also the activity type, recognizing that marketing versus a tourism-related facility and event can have different draws and different numbers of related things like vendors and entertainers as part of those counts. As you can kind of see up here, attendance can also uniquely overlap and funnel, starting at the top with the tourism marketing category. Some of those marketing numbers may also include the participation from participants who go to the facilities and attend the events that the marketing provides services for. So tourism marketing often includes numbers of participants in other categories. Similarly, those tourism-related facilities host many activities that are funded by LTAC. So those numbers may also include numbers of participants or visitors to the facility and be counting some of those activity numbers that you see on those reports. There are two types of attendance counts that we get from our applicants. All applicants have to provide estimates, and these are just best estimates typically based off of previous activities and anticipated growth trends. As we've heard, all of our activities seem to be growing year over year. This can also be limited by things like venue capacity. So if someone's having a first-time event, they might say, this venue can have 100 people. We anticipate it'll be full. Our estimate's 100 participants. They can also use data and estimate based off like-kind events. The other set of reported attendance counts that we get are activity outcomes. All funding recipients are required to report the outcome of their activities, and this is something that's required by the state, and we as a city actually have to report annually to JLARC, which is the Joint Legislative Audit Review Committee. So we have to actually report those numbers, even if we designate funding for a recipient and they decline it. If they don't use the funding for whatever reason, we still have to report that 0 attendees resulted from that designation. You can see up here there are a variable amount of ways and methodologies that people can estimate their attendance. There is some information in your agenda packet and in the staff report that specifically talks about these different types of methodologies. And one thing we commonly see is that one recipient may use multiple methodologies to count and calculate their estimates and their reported outcomes. So they're not always straight line or like kind from recipient to recipient. And then looking at some funding reimbursement information, all of the recipients who receive lodging tax funding must submit a funding reimbursement request to the city. This is something that is reviewed before all of these recipients receive their funding because this is a reimbursement basis program. So they fill out this form you can see up here, and they have to provide each line item for each transaction that they're wishing to be reimbursed for. These requests have to be aligned with the scope of services for their activities. So all of the recipients enter into an agreement with the city, and they provide a specified scope of services on how they intend to use the funding, and all of those transactions must be aligned with those scope of services. They also have to have a receipt or an invoice for all of those transactions and proof of payment that reflects the organization's name that they actually paid for those items before they're reimbursed. So every single reimbursement gets thoroughly reviewed by city staff before it is paid out to make sure it's in compliance with those rules. So what we have up here is a review. Again, this is the recommendations from the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee for this city council to consider. The total amount of funding awards is $685,329. Of this, $577,239 are from projected lodging tax revenues. There is a use of reserves of $108,000 proposed in this, and then that would leave our remaining reserve balance at $159,420. I have broken out kind of in a bigger screen by category. The orange is our tourism marketing application. We only had one this year. The blue are all tourism-related facility applications. You can see up here the frequency of the activities. These categories all have annual activities. If they're located in Lacey, which is something that this council directed the committee to prioritize funding activities in Lacey. There is some information about previous paid stays. This is from 2024 because we're in our current 2025 cycle, so we don't have those numbers yet. The 2026 estimated paid stays based off of the applicant application. You see there the amount of funding they received in 2025, if they received funding, how much money they requested from the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee this year, and then all the way in the right, outlined in red, is the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee's recommendation for funding this year. We have that same information here. These are all of our tourism, event, and festival applicants. So you can see up here the same information about the frequency, location, paid stays, and then all the way at the right, the Lodging Tax Advisory's recommendation for funding. Councilmember Beasley?
Just a question on that. So the fan zone shows multi-occurrence and it shows it in Lacey. My understanding is it's one occurrence and it's not in Lacey.
Per the application for the fan zone, which is kind of unique, they do have a component of kind of the watch party, as I'll call it, which is a single occurrence, but there's also a component in their application, which is a digital app, and that goes live before the matches, and the app ties and leads users to Lacey businesses to collect, I believe it's a point type system to get swag. So with the digital app component, technically, there is a component. So
Bit of a stretch, but okay.
Yeah, a unique combination of activities. Yes.
So I have one question about the Lacey fireworks. Obviously, they've been covering most of those costs for the fireworks through this application. We obviously cut it in half. Does that mean that the fireworks show is going to be cut in half, or are they going to look for other?
No, at this time, all of the activities that the Parks Department has applied for lodging tax funding are anticipated to occur at full capacity regardless of lodging tax funding awards.
Okay. Is there any other questions?
I would move to approve the lodging tax funding with reassigning the funds for the fan zone to the RAC.
Is there a second on that?
For the sake of discussion, I'll second.
Okay. There's been a motion and a second.
right? Yes, so discussion, right? All right. Yeah, I get it, Lenny, right? But, I mean, someone who participated in the World Cup back in the Bay Area, which didn't include the Pacific Northwest, right? So this is a bonus for us. We're being included in something big. That was huge. It was, I mean, people came from all around. People are going to discover the Northwest because of this. There's going to be a lot of people here. Soccer is worldwide, man. It's and these dollars going directly to sports that helps our youth. And I'm going to touch base on the $100,000 for the Visitors Convention Bureau because Shawn herself mentioned in her presentation USSSA tournament, right? My son's team won that. Washington State 12U team won that tournament, and they went to Park City. Every single one of those kids on that team have graduated college or are graduating this year. Most of them, 90% of them, have scholarships. These dollars make a difference. I mean, they really do. But I mean, we should be able to showcase our city and have people discover it and want to come here. I mean, normally, either you pass by visiting just randomly or you're in the military. And you come back here on purpose because you went, wow, that place was amazing. So that's why I'm going to support this the way it stands, though I do understand Lenny's concern.
I'll end with you, Lenny, but.
Yeah, like I said, I just think, for the sake of discussion, I just think it's important that we realize that none of us have been really happy with how this process has gone for the FIFA fan zone. And now, it looks like they're doing one event. I think it's June 16th or July 6th, or 19th. And it's going to be USA game. And I hope and I am going to go into it with the best of intention. But I think it's also important to realize, like, we're not just totally gung-ho on this, and they need to show that they, bring back the experience that we're paying for. So that's why I thought it was important to at least discuss for, even a few minutes.
Dave?
Yes, I'll just note for council, a modification of the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee's recommendations, if it's changed or modified, would need to be a proposal that would go back to LTAC for their review and comment.
You're right. This is
45-day period.
That's the other thing about this. You're right. That this would have to go back, and it would pause everything, wouldn't it?
Pause all the funding. Yes, it would pause the funding and then go back to the LTAC for consideration 45 days. After that 45 days, then council can take a final action. It would pause any of the earlier contracts if they were ready to be signed in January until that process was complete.
Yeah, I forgot about the LTAC dollars. It's a totally different process when council's involved. Go ahead, but.
Yeah, I understand all of that. I just want to explain the reason for this motion. And there's multiple reasons. So for starters, the process has been horrific. There's really not been a very good process in how this whole thing came to be. Second of all, I think we still don't have a plan of any significance. It's still a lot of pieces up in the air that we're committing $80,000 of lodging tax money to without any real definitive plan for what they're going to do. Secondly, I don't see this putting heads in beds, and the reason I recommended reassigning that money to the RAC is the one thing that we know puts heads in beds in the city of Lacey. Every hotelier I've talked to tells me that is the number one driver for putting heads in beds in the city of Lacey is events at the RAC. So LTAC dollars are supposed to do that. That's the function of LTAC dollars, is to put heads in beds, and I don't believe this is going to do that. That's the reason for my motion. I didn't anticipate it passing. I wanted to get it out there.
Well, I'll let the chair of the LTAC also speak to that.
Okay, so the dollars that are headed towards the FIFA fan zone, if it actually happens, would be used. But if it doesn't, then those obviously would be returned to reserves. When we took a look at the situation, we came to the realization, just like we did in some of the other meetings, that this is a one-time opportunity. We're not going to see this again, and we would be the furthest south fan zone in the state of Washington, as far as we know at this point in time. So any of the southernmost traffic is going to most likely come here to this region. This is kind of an effort for all of us to come together and highlight this region for a one-time chance of the potential of about 750,000 people descending upon the Northwest for the month of July. And so, we didn't take this decision lightly. It was we've got two hoteliers on the committee, and both of them voted for what you see in this package, and we're very excited about it. And also for the Visitor Convention Bureau, really understanding and knowing and believing that the heads and beds opportunity with an event like this that is not going to happen again in this region is too important to miss. And so that was one of the reasons why, it was a unanimous vote on should we risk some of these reserves. Now, the ask was even higher than this, but this is as high as we were willing to go. And so with the higher ask, we trimmed it all the way down to, the essential, maybe we can do this much, and we got unanimous consent to do that. So when we, before we brought this to you guys, we had long, deep conversations about, hey, here's what council priorities are. Here's what the council wants to see. And we were able to redirect a whole lot of funds back to the RAC. I think we've done more. In this budget, you're going to see more contributed to the RAC than you've ever seen come out of LTAC before. And we were able to redirect a lot of funds. And then if there was any excess dollars, we decided that should go to the RAC too. So as we, kind of line up with council priorities, you're going to see year over year a whole lot more dollars going towards the RAC because you're right. It does put a ton of heads and beds in this community because people want to, get a room as close as possible to their event. So, but again, this is just one of those kind of budgets where we looked at and we're like, you know what, if we don't take our shot to try to highlight this region for the onslaught of people that are coming here, we're going to miss an opportunity.
Totally understand that, and I really do appreciate the work of the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee, and I get where you're coming from, and I do appreciate that they put more money toward the RAC. Again, I wanted to get this out there because I've been very frustrated with the whole process on this fan zone, and again, here we are, it's around the corner, and we still don't have a plan, and that's pretty frustrating.
Just one last one real quick. I just want to say thank you guys. The reason why I seconded this because I think it's important that whenever any of us, no matter what the issue is, has a reservation about something, that they feel like they're heard and not dismissed right away. So even though I'm in support of the motion or I will be voting for the lodging tax as recommended. I think it's an example of how we can and work together through issues that we have differences on. So thank you guys for taking that seriously.
Since this is my last meeting, I want to make one more comment, but I think you'll enjoy this. So Andy will probably get this better than anybody else because he knows Eddie Gentry, right? So Eddie Gentry is the athletic director at North Thurston High School, and was a great wrestler, but he's an even better soccer player. And I think this is going to create opportunities our youth, 5, 10-year-olds, that Eddie didn't get. Because Eddie might not be an athletic director at North Thurston High School, even though that's a great job, right? He could be playing soccer somewhere. But because there wasn't the opportunities that this is going to create for our youth coming up, that's where I see the bigger picture, So maybe that makes sense to people, maybe it doesn't, but I know what the World Cup brought because I spent a whole month doing it, And if I could if this fat old Marine could get in his dress blues, they'd go do another color guard or two out in the stadium. But
thank you for that.
I would withdraw the motion. There's no need to bring it to a vote.
There's a motion and a second.
We need to vote. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, it's been seconded. So there is a motion and a second to take out the dollars subject to the Fan Fest and have it go back to the RAC, which would result in a referral back to the Lodging Tax Committee. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Nay.
Nay.
So that motion fails.
I would move to approve lodging tax funding awards recommended by the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee as outlined in Table A in the 2026 funding cycle.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
The motion passes with one nay.
Thank you, Sadie, and thank you, City Council, for that action. One other thing, I just want to just make an announcement. We had the commendation presented to Commander Joe Upton on his retirement. Just want to make sure that councils were on your calendars this Friday here in the City Council chambers. We'll be having a retirement open house for him as well. So I just want to let you be aware to make sure it's on your calendars. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't say the time. 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon, this Friday. Also, I want to take the opportunity, this is the last council meeting of the year, 2026. And I wanted to commend and congratulate the council on a year's worth of work. I also want to congratulate the director team and all the staff. This was a big night. There were a lot of actions taken. Well, actually, there's been several big nights this fall with a lot of the work that the council's put in, some longer meetings. We had a lot of business to take care of. And so tonight culminated on a lot of that activity with some final actions. And we got to acknowledge some of those key community partners and staff that we have in the public presentations and celebrate their contributions to not only the organization but the community. And again, it goes without saying, the budget adoption, the work on the comprehensive plan. We also council took action on one of the steps of the revenue enhancements, part of our three-pronged approach to look at the city's financial condition. And so I just wanted to have that statement and acknowledge and congratulate the council on a lot of work, a lot of accomplishment, and a lot of guidance for us to be able to bring these matters to you so that they met the community needs. And of course, foreshadowing in 2026, we'll have more work ahead, but we'll be able to take a little pause before our first meeting in January. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll go on to council reports. I'm up first, and as the city manager just pointed out, this will be our last meeting of the year. We will not be having our December 23rd council work session. That will be canceled as we usually do this time of year. So I just want to make sure that is public. So for my reports, the Mayor's Forum met earlier this month. I don't really have anything to report out on that, but the Transportation Policy Board met on Wednesday, December 10th. I have no idea what day it is. It's that time of year. I'm not sure if that was last week or this week. Who knows? But we did. It was one of our in-person meetings, and it was I think really important. There's a couple big things that happened at this meeting, but for me, one of the big important things was the recognition of a couple outgoing members, and I know this will be talked about when Robin gives her report as well. But there were two members of the Transportation Policy Board that were both probably the longest standing members of the Transportation Policy Board in Thurston Regional Planning Council's history. And that is John O'Callahan from the great city of Tenino. He has been on the Transportation Policy Board basically the entire time he has been in elected officials going, back to the 90s, which is absolutely amazing to think that the time he has put in. He has always been just a really great advocate for South County. And he's also been one of those people that you can always count on to talk to you about the history when it comes to transportation policy and funding and the history. Unlike any other committee I've been on in my 16 years, the transportation, as we know, it takes such a long time to plan, fund, and see through to fruition. And it's one of those committees where you really need to have that historical knowledge year after year, or you can easily get off base on your long-term planning. And we have seen times, unfortunately, where decisions were made, and then several years later, after years of planning, those decisions have been thrown off for one reason or another. And because we haven't had the historical knowledge of people who've stuck around long enough to understood where we came from and why decisions were originally made in the long-term planning, that it can throw off an entire regional transportation plan. And so it is so important to have that in a policy board to remind the policy board the decisions that have been made have significant influence on long-term planning for the future. And so John has always been, he remembers planning going way back, and it has been very important over the years to have that historical context. And so losing that is going to be really difficult. And the other one's former Mayor Pete Komet, who several years ago, because we understood how important it was to have that historical knowledge on the Transportation Policy Board, we created an emeritus position. And so former Mayor Pete Komet is our second emeritus mayor, representative on the Transportation Policy Board. And so he's, given years and years as well of public service, and to someone who's giving, so many years going back to the 90s as well, giving back to as a public servant in Tumwater, and then retire and then stay on. I think this was his third year staying on as emeritus rep, is amazing. It's just it's been so valuable, and he has had some really big contributions to transportation policy planning in Thurston County, especially when it comes to our trails and bicycle safety and ped planning, and everything that has to do with trying to find ways to lower cars on the street. His big crowning achievement was he was really the force behind bridging the gap on the Chehalis Western Trail, and championed that for a long time, which required the policy board to set aside federal funding for several years to get that project done. And it's been just an incredible asset to have in Thurston County, and it was a key segment that was missing. So it was really my honor to be able to recognize both John O'Callahan and Pete Komet for their years of service on the Transportation Policy Board, and having a huge impact on me. I've been chair for the majority of the time I've been on council, and they've always been people I've been able to talk to, especially on the history side of things, to make sure we're following through on prior year's commitments. So the majority of the rest of the time was spent with an update from the Port of Olympia, and I'm sure Robin's going to give a report out on this. I just want to say, from a transportation side, I think one of the things that was highlighted and I think is extremely important is that the Port of Olympia, for all they do, they are only one of a very few deep water ports that allows that's immediately connected to rail lines, and also has very nearby storage. And the combination of those two, I think they're only one of maybe two, or it's a very small number that has those assets. And the other thing that we forget about the Port of Olympia, they're only one of two rail lines that have direct access to Joint Base Lewis McChord. And so they're a national security, asset as well. And so it's everything the port does. I hope we realize as a transportation network how important they are. There's over the years we've seen so much freight that's had to be moved onto roads because of not enough access from importing our goods to direct access to rail, and this is one of those big freight mobility that we just sort of don't really realize how important it is. And so I'm sure there'll be more on the update from the Port of Olympia from the TRPC standpoint, but I just really wanted to highlight the importance of that from a transportation network. And so that's my report. Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, just one quick report for JASCOM. Our meeting was on December 8th. A couple highlights. I know we're getting short on time, but shelter stats are up So the intake level has increased in some cases a little over 20%, almost 26%. And so by the end of November, the intake we had already exceeded the previous year's intake. So, like we've talked about, the capital facilities plan for this entity, and it's just getting more important year after year that we, make some kind of headway on that. Jurisdiction-wise, Thurston County leads the way in terms of intakes and field calls at 58%. Well, I'll just stop at intake. We'll get to field calls in a second, but again, the county leads at 58%, and then Olympia, and then Lacey, and then Tumwater. Positive outcomes are also up, so adoptions are happening, which also helps the jurisdictional budgets because those adoption dollars are actually reduce our assessments. They are up significantly. Field calls are also up. Well, they're down in Olympia, but everyone else is up. So county is up, Tumwater is up the most, followed by Lacey and then Thurston County. So in terms of field calls, we did a review on shelter fees. It turns out that we were a little, last time a shelter fee increase was done was 2018, and we were kind of a little bit behind the curve, kind of like the way City of Lacey was behind on cable utility tax. So we did approve a fee increase. It is not a whole lot, maybe $10 in some areas. The most, the highest dollar amount of increase was $20, and that fee schedule is going to be posted. Initially, the recommendation was that fee schedule be increase happen on January 1st. We didn't feel like that was enough time to notify the public, so the motion was made to actually do that fee increase on February 1st, and so those signs will go up by the end of the year, so that the public is well aware of the different costs that are going to be incurred by the beginning of February. We were also able to pass the budget. There was, we initially sent out some numbers to our jurisdictional partners. I'll say whole numbers went out, and we kind of felt like, oh well, if we do the 2% decrease that we did last year, just relying on some revenues, then and sent that out. But in the end, the decision was made that we can't continue relying on reserves while we try to do capital outlays. And so, I recommended that we send out, our regular numbers without trying to, rely on any reserves. And we did get a positive response on that from our partner jurisdictions, and we were able to pass the full budget. So we also had a pretty good amount of community engagement this year. And our next meeting is going to be February 9th. And that is my report.
Thank you, Councilmember Greenstein.
I have no report.
Councilmember Stedman.
All right, I just wanted to say, this is my last meeting, but, the best thing I can say, my takeaway from 12 years of service is I got to know my city, my city residents, my city staff, our city councils, 6 full different ones, right? Every 2 years. And that's my reward, you know what I mean? So I love Lacey. I know everybody in this room does. And, take care of her. Be proud of her. Promote her.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, buddy. Councilmember Cox.
Okay, 2 hopefully quick reports. First is Regional Housing Council, which met on December 10th. We had a presentation on the Built for Zero program in Thurston County. We officially became a member of that program in 2021. The focus has largely been on veterans and chronically homeless people. The goal was to reduce veterans' homelessness by 35%, or 25 individuals, by December 31st, and to reach full zero for vets by December 2026. We're close in 25. Got work to do in 26 on that. Barriers to this program have been major shifts in funding at the federal level, lack of housing and shelter beds, no contact with the individuals, and lack of engagement. Thurston County, as a rule, and particularly in this program, prioritizes the most vulnerable individuals for housing placement. We also approved priorities for scoring grant applications for federal, state, and local funds. We approved $550,000 in set-asides for the emergency fund, hazardous weather sheltering, and the lived experience housing steering committee. We approved legislative priorities for the upcoming session, and I believe those have been shared out with our jurisdictions. We were briefed on potential funding cuts, and will receive a fuller report and discussion on how we're going to adapt to that. This is federal and state funding cuts. And then the last update was on the Franz Anderson Permanent Supportive Housing update. The Low Income Housing Institute has requested that 35 of the 71 units there be designated for low-income housing instead of permanent supportive housing. And each jurisdiction is being asked to kind of look at that and consider how we feel about it, and I can report back on that at our January meeting. Lacey has already contributed to this project. So Lehigh's rationale for the low-income units is that it will help them with their funding and also be maybe a little less service intensive for the low-income units, although I think services will be available for everybody there. So I put this out to you all and see
So
how you
what
feel.
I've asked the city manager to do is bring this back for a work session in January when we have the new full council, so we can go over the history of this. There's a lot of history to go over. I think this will be something the new council will have to talk about and consider, and because we designated these dollars specifically for one category, and now the category is changing. I totally understand why, but we just need to, that means, from the way I take it, I think that ILA will need to change. So we need to come back and discuss it as a full council, and we'll do that in January.
Okay. Anybody else have thoughts on that, or should we just move on?
Forward to the discussion in January.
Okay. Very good. My second report is on the LOT, that's Lacey, Olympia, Tumwater, and Thurston County Clean Water Alliance, which also met on December 10th. And during that meeting, we adopted and updated board policies on community programs. We received updates on the digester project, which is a huge 3-year undertaking. We also heard reports on pilot programs, and at a recent wastewater conference, LOT just a couple months ago received another national award. This is almost embarrassing how many awards LOT has amassed, but I think it just reflects what a good job they're doing. We've reviewed a year-end highlights video that summarized 2025 accomplishments. We recognize Tumwater Mayor-elect Leota Dahlhoff for her service on the LOT board. And then finally, we held an executive session for the Executive Director's Annual Review. That's my report.
Councilmember Cox, I have one quick question on the conversation related to Regional Housing Council and the Franz Anderson project. Did they indicate any type of timeline for that conversation to be able to get to a conclusion?
No, I need to check back with Tom. I don't remember a
Okay.
specific mention of time, but
And I could reach out too. So I just wanted so in terms of planning and scheduling, I want to make sure that we're timely, but also that
Yeah.
we're already starting to get a full schedule in January, so I can figure out how we can.
I do remember she did say it needed, when the Olympia representative was talking about it, she was saying like conversations probably need to happen in January. So I think there was like some, because there has to be alignment across the board from everyone. So I think that was, there wasn't like a given, but there was like a, hey, we should probably talk about this sooner rather than later.
Probably look at the second work session in January then, so thank you.
Okay.
Great. Councilmember Vasquez.
Well, the Thurston Regional Planning Council met on December 5th, and it was the last meeting of the year. And as the mayor mentioned, we had an opportunity to recognize some long-serving staff. We had a number of staff longevity recognitions. Aiden Dixon celebrated 5 years. Veronica Jarvis celebrated 5 years, which is weird because I swear I worked with her at OFM like 2 years ago, which is not accurate at all. That was much longer ago than that, but she's worked for TRPC now for 5 years. Katrina Van Every has been there for 10 years, and Paul Brewster has been there for a whopping 25 years. He joined in 2000, maybe 1999, when we were like worried that Y2K was going to happen. Like that was when he stepped onto the TRPC. So he's really seen this community grow a lot. We also took some time to recognize outgoing council members. So Amy Evans Harding from the Port is stepping down, and she's always prioritized like listening and regional collaboration despite differences of opinion or differences on policy. And I think she left her mark on TRPC in that way, and that was really lovely. But John O'Callahan served on TRPC off and on since 1996. And yeah, I know. He has been a joy to get to know. He is very proud of the great city of Tenino, which is a city and not a town. And he's making sure that everyone is aware of that. One of the stories that I learned about him when we were getting ready to recognize him is that he used to talk to his fellow city council members on the Tenino City Council about needing to plan for the future of like flying cars. And I talked a little bit about this during the council meeting, but now it seems like Jetson stuff, like, okay, flying cars, sure, John. And now the Port is actually having conversations about how do we plan for like aerial travel and aerial vehicles in our community. So he's got a vision, right? And, he's a proud Navy vet. He's got a daughter that he's very proud of. He volunteers in the community to recognize public service. He hosts the first responders barbecue, and he also volunteers as Santa Claus. Like he's growing his beard out, and he shows up at community events as Santa Claus. So just a lifetime of service. It's very inspiring. So we took some time to recognize him because he's stepping down from council. We did also hear a presentation from Alex Smith, the executive director of the Port. And Paul Brewster talked a little bit about how TRPC is going to be working with the Port of Olympia on the Port Peninsula Master Plan. I think there'll be lots of opportunities for the public to weigh in and provide feedback on that in the coming days. So there's a website and a presentation for the curious. I sent the summary out that has the link to the Port Peninsula Master Plan presentation from Paul Brewster for the council in case they want to take a look at it. We also got an update on the Martin Way crossing strategy. So the punchline on that report we received from the consultant is that they identified 2 locations for crossings in the city of Olympia, I think 3 in the county, and then 2 more in, did I say city of Olympia? City of Lacey, 2, 3 in the county, and then 2 more in the city of Olympia. And they've produced, I think, 30% design concepts for each of the crossings that they identified based on a lot of public feedback. And I said this in an email I sent to the council, but I really do think that we have an opportunity to work with the county and with the city of Olympia to speak with one voice at the state legislature to get funding to build those crossings. And I would love to see us partner together so that, more voices speaking the same words about how we need funding to make our community safer by building these crossings. Maybe it gives us a better chance of getting the money that we need to do it.
Could I add a little statement to that?
Sure.
One of the other things they talked about was requesting that the jurisdictions work together on a common design for these things so that, when people are traveling through, a lot of people don't understand, where city limits lines are, and where, if you're in the county, you're in Lacey, you're in Olympia. So I would really encourage that coordination. Thanks.
And then we wrapped it up with some trivia on the profile, which is the data source that I'm always very fond of. I love playing that trivia game. Sad to say I did not win this time, but the profile is updated in case you have any questions about population, workplace, economic statistics, all that stuff. So take a look. And then just to take a page out of the Deputy Mayor's book, over the course of the last year, I think Thurston Regional Planning Council has done some really cool stuff. A couple of things to call out. We continued our work on visioning for high-capacity transportation throughout our community. You know, what is it going to look like in the future for people to travel on buses or maybe in the future commuter rail? We worked on that. We updated the Title VI plan. It's very accessible. We simplified the language. It's got a lot of community input in it. And the Martin Way crossing strategy is something we can be proud of. You know, it's going to make our community safer with more crossings of that key arterial. And we approved the 2050 Regional Transportation Plan, which again creates that vision for our future for the next 30 years and will give us a better chance of getting federal funds. And to cap it all off, we hired a new executive director, which I feel really proud of. Like, I was able to help with that, and that's really cool. We actually had Alyssa in the building today. We were giving her a tour and taking her around so that she got to know the city of Olympia. Dang it, I keep saying Olympia. The city of Lacey. I'm tired. But we got to, she was our first, it was her first outside of TRPC meeting in the community. So we got to her first, and Rick and I were able to give her kind of the download on the city of Lacey. So we covered a lot of ground on TRPC this year, and that is my report. And I would echo what Michael said. This is my last council meeting. And if you want to really get to know your community, serving in public office is a really, really good way to do it. I've learned a lot. So thank you.
Thank you for serving, Robin.
And you've contributed a lot.
All right, fun little note, by the way, there's a couple companies who are actually starting production on flying cars next year. True story, you can look it up.
Yeah.
It's coming. I've seen them, they're pretty cool. I want to take a few minutes enjoying, or not a few minutes, but a few moments enjoying my last few seconds at the end of the desk, which I'm actually going to really miss being at the end. My favorite thing about being the new guy is whenever anyone asks you a question you don't want to answer, you just say, I don't know, I'm the new guy. I don't get to do that anymore, So there's that. But, had a few meetings to go over. SWAC met on the 1st. We went over the hazardous waste plan, which we reviewed earlier. But there's another, you guys will probably, remember this at some, whether it was here or just hearing it throughout the Recycling Reform Act. It's just something that's kind of been in the news over the years. And it's basically about transitioning the cost of recycling or extra material from the consumer to have to get rid of to the production or manufacturer. So we know it's like a 5-year kind of like phase. It's really, they say your bill is going to go down. It's really hard to see where that cost isn't going to get passed down some way to the consumer because the manufacturers are going to have to eat that cost. So we will see. It's a very slow ramp up over like 5 years of getting companies enrolled in it, and so. But the biggest thing, you just might see a big change in how things are packaged over the next few years, because I think shrinking the size of packaging and maybe materials is just something you guys will see and starting to happen.
So the Amazon package that's this big won't come in a box?
We will see. Yeah, so they're supposed to cover those costs. But there's a lot of unknowns and a really weird phase-in plan until 2023. So we will see about that. And then Orca met on the 10th. Another long-running member, Jim Cooper, was chaired for about the last 10 years. He didn't run for re-election. I will say he did a great job of chair, as that board was really fair, really impartial, and got everyone engaged in that Orca board. It was really clear. And then they elected Greg Botherton from Jefferson County to be the new chair. He was the vice chair before, so there's a lot of continuity there. Really, the discussion in the meeting was mainly centered around funding, as we all know, or lack thereof. So really pushing legislatively to try to get some funding from the Department of Ecology to continue some of their programs. So we will see where that goes. And then lastly, the VCB met earlier today. Shauna kind of stole a lot of the thunder from that. But two of the other things that I don't think she mentioned, we did officially put a Thurston County representative on the board. They will be starting either in January or February. That'll be Wayne Fournier. And then they're working on their 3-year extension of the TPA. They were kind of going back and forth on a 1-year versus 3-year, and I think they really worked out a lot of their differences. And so I think early January, they should be moving forward with that. And that ends the year. Thank you very much, guys.
Point of personal preference?
Of course.
I was going to ask council and the directors and staff if I could take a 5-second selfie, one diocese and then the next after you hit the gavel.
So yeah, I was gonna. You stole my thunder. We're actually gonna come and take a final photo with the full council and with the directors and everyone when as soon as we do it. So great minds think alike. So yeah, we're already gonna plan on doing that. So I appreciate that. As it's been mentioned, this is our last meeting of 2025. It's been an honor of a lifetime to be able to be the mayor of the city I was, born and raised in and grew up in and raised my family in. And over the years, there's been obviously there's so much sacrifice that goes into being a elected official. I think of all the meetings and sports events and all the things that I missed with my daughter growing up because she doesn't vaguely remembers a time where I haven't been an elected official, and she just turned 21 this last month. And but the reason why I've done this job and I've continuing to be an elected official always comes down to the people you work with. And the people on this council over the year not only has made me a better elected official, representative of the people, mayor of the city, but it's also made me a better person. And that's what's so special about being a public servant is, yes, you get to know your community, you get to hopefully have some sort of influence and making it a little bit better, but you also get to have these amazing relationships with the most unselfless people you can come across that give so much time and personal energy of their own lives to making their community better. Every elected official I've ever worked with here on the city council absolutely loves Lacey, and that's what's so special. And this is a big changing of the guard here. Councilmember Stedman has been my right-hand guy for a long time. The reason all the success I've had as mayor really started with the original support of Mike Stedman, and so I can't thank you enough, buddy, for all your help over the years. And Councilmember Vasquez, it's going to be such a big loss to this council having your wisdom, your thoughtfulness, your empathy, reflecting on this council. And I just wish you the best of luck. You've just been an amazing addition, and it's made this past 4 years, so special to be able to work with you. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. With that, we have reached the end of our agenda. Everyone has a happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. And as always, you keep it classy, Lacey. Until next year.